Ruben Loftus-Cheek was at his mum's house when he got the text from the England camp. It's been a long time coming for the AC Milan midfielder. A string of injuries sparked a 7-year absence from the England camp.
A lot of that period was tough mentally for my head, you know, with the injury and trying to come back and feel good again. And after that, I'd say after about a year and a half, 2 years, I felt myself again.
England's World Cup qualifier against Andorra is live on Saturday afternoon here on talkSPORT. So too is the trip to Serbia on Tuesday night. Now, Alexander Isak is in great spirits ahead of Sweden's World Cup qualifier against Slovenia. That's according to Jon Dahl Tomasson, who says he'll treat the British record transfer with care.
So is he able to play in 90 minutes? Of course not. Are we going to do stupid things? No, we are not going to do any stupid things with him. So we have a plan, but he's smiling and he's happy to be here.
Never mind Kevin De Bruyne and Luka Modric moving to Serie A this summer. It's all about an Englishman knocking on the door of 40. That's according to Italian football expert Daniele Fischella, whose fantasy football WhatsApp groups are abuzz.
There's only one name that is circulating since a couple of weeks, and that's Jamie Vardy. Everyone wants Jamie Vardy. It's really almost a marquee signing that has overshadowed the other signings that come to Italy, from De Bruyne to Modric this summer. And you must say, I mean, Cremonese are really pulling all the strings. We've seen the pictures earlier of Vardy next to a violin. So they've made already a new nickname, Stradivardi.
Novak Djokovic says he's got a couple of days to get his body ready to face Carlos Alcaraz on Friday in the US Open. How does he feel about the fact that everyone in New York is expecting another Alcaraz versus Sinner final?
We don't need to spend words about two of them. You know, we know that they're two best players in the world. Everybody's probably expecting and anticipating the finals between two of them. I'm going to try to mess up the plans of most of the people, and let's see.
And minimum salary requirements have now been introduced in the top 2 tiers of women's football. That's part of a series of reforms being implemented by the new governing body. All your latest is at talksport.com.
Hello and welcome to Kickoff on talkSPORT. I'm Hugh Woozencroft tonight alongside the former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant. We'll be asking how long until we take a look at Howard Webb's position. I've got to be serious here. How many more major mistakes can VAR make? We're going to be with the England camp as well. We'll hear from Morgan Rogers. Is he the secret to success for Thomas Tuchel? From 8 p.m, we're going to discuss the journey from wonder kid to superstar since the likes of Max Dowman and Rio Ngamoa have emerged in the Premier League. What is the best way to fulfil their promise? And what about the pitfalls if it all goes wrong? We're going to be joined by the former Palace midfielder Sean Derry, ex-Leeds head of welfare Lucy Ward, and the former Reading boss Brian McDermott. If you've been there as a player or as a parent, let us know your thoughts. 03717 22 3344. And of course, we'll get Jermaine's view on his beloved Liverpool as well. This is Kickoff. Remember, you can drop us a text as well on 81089 if you'd like to join the conversation. I'd love to be saying what a wonderful day. I mean, it's nice to see you and all that, Jermaine.
Cheers.
For the first time, I know a lot of people have complained that we now no longer have a window in the studio, but for today, it's actually okay that we haven't got a window. What's going on with the weather?
What's happened to our summer?
Summer's just died immediately. I'm one of those seasonal affective disorder. Like the moment the sun goes away, the grey clouds are back, my mood just plummets, and that's where I am.
Especially when there's no Premier League either.
Well, I don't mind the international window. I mean, Andorra's not a great fixture.
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I'd prefer Premier League all day long.
Well, yeah, I prefer the Premier League, but usually...
But are you are you looking forward to watching England and Andorra?
I am, not for the same reasons that I'm looking forward to watching the Premier League, but I know where you're coming from. I'm interested to see what Thomas Tuchel's got up his sleeve and how this England team's going to play. I know it's not all going to be revealed against Andorra or against Serbia next week, but I need to start seeing building blocks ahead of the World Cup. So I'm intrigued to see it, but I'm not excited to see it in the same way as if it were a Premier League game, like the big game at the weekend between Liverpool and Arsenal. Just so everyone knows, the moment Jermaine walked into the office today, he saw our resident Arsenal fan, Luke Henry, and just burst into... It was no words needed. He just burst into laughter. I mean, it was like, take it easy. Just rubbing it in everywhere you go.
No friends out here. Got to be ruthless.
Liverpool, it was a wonder goal from Szoboszlai to win it. It's a good few weeks for Liverpool in terms of the window. Obviously, Alexander Isak signed on the final day. You haven't played that great so far this season. You've obviously won all your games in the Premier League so far, including the one against your so-called biggest rivals for the title, Arsenal. So things are feeling fairly rosy, aren't they, for Liverpool fans?
Well, touching on everything you just
Got
said.
a big smile across his face.
Touching on everything you said, you got to be happy. When you're not playing at your best, but you still manage to get 3 points and win the game, that's a good sign. And on top of that, the transfer window was very exciting. It would have been the perfect transfer window if the saga with Mark Gay got finalised and sorted. But nevertheless, we've signed one of the best strikers, the number 9s in the world at present, in Alexander Isak. So to have that in your armoury is something to be smiling about.
How does he change things for Liverpool? Does he change things in terms of how Arne Slot wants to play? Just in terms of the rotation up front, they have over the last few years, even before Slot got there, it's been a fairly fluid rotation. Mo Salah is obviously the standout. He's nailed on. There's been a variety of players who've changed and rotated over the course of time, but you've now added another certain starter in Isak, surely. Is he tailor-made for the way that Slot plays, do you think?
I think he'll be tailor-made for any team, any system, any style of play. I think his attributes show that. I think if you want to be the focal point of your attack, you can hold up the ball, bring in players. We've seen him also drop deep with Newcastle, pick up the ball, create his own stuff and bring other players in. We've seen that. Great in the air. We've seen that. And what I like the most is around the box, he can create his own goals. One touch here, straight out, bang. The goal at St. James's Park against Newcastle, he's a fantastic strike. Also, the winner in the Carabao Cup, not the winner, but one of his goals.
Just dropped to him.
He can create things on his own. So, and hopefully, Liverpool are going to have a lot of the possession. They're going to be creating a lot of opportunities. And when it comes to a match like Arsenal, where chances are few from far, someone like Isak that spark of magic. Yes, we got that from Dominic Szoboszlai, but if you've got an Isak in there, that something possibly could come.
Lots has been made about Arsenal's window, and loads of people saying there's no excuses for Mikel Arteta because Arsenal, he's got everything he needs, etc., etc., etc. And because Arne Slot won the Premier League in his first season in charge, I think there's obviously no pressure on him, very little pressure on him. His team's a favourite. They've been playing great football since he's arrived, and so no one really points to the players that Liverpool have brought in and gone, well, the pressure's now on Arne Slot. He has to back up. He has to go and win the Premier League again, but he has to do better, clearly, in the Champions League. You're looking for number 7. Surely Liverpool now have to get close to dominating English football for this period that Arne Slot's in charge. The pressure is on him to create a dynasty, given the money that's been spent, over 400 million, and the quality of players that have come in. It's a new era, clearly, because of the changes, but he has to lead one that keeps Liverpool at the top of world football.
Well, yeah, that's the pressure is retaining the Championship. You've won the league, so you've got to retain that. The pressure of you being the favourites, you've got to win that. Now, like I said, we've made a British record in Isak. So with those figures flaunting, then you got Florian Wirtz on top of that, which was 116. He was the highest enough. So with those figures, you've got to be dominating. You've got to be winning trophies, whether it's the league, whether it's the Champions League. You've got to be coming back with some sort of silverware.
I'm glad you say that. So we can say that if Arne Slot doesn't win the Premier League, it's a massive failure?
Well, if he doesn't win the Premier League but wins the Champions League, then you can look at it and go, well, it depends who wins the Premier League. It depends who wins.
No, it doesn't. If Liverpool don't win the Premier League, it is a huge failure.
If Liverpool don't win the Premier League and they're going to win the Champions League, then you'll be happy.
No. The bread and butter is the Premier League. Liverpool have to win it. With the players they've signed, Alexander Isak, you just said, one of the best strikers in world football. They've had players leave the club. They've replaced them, if not improved.
Yep.
I'm sorry. You cannot look past Liverpool for the Premier League title. And if Arne Slot can't deliver And I know it's difficult to retain the Premier League title, but he has to deliver it again this season.
Yes, it's difficult, and yes, they are favourites. But if they don't win it, and they're going to win the Champions League, okay, yes,
get rid of him.
No, look,
I'm not saying it's a catastrophe, but he's got to win the Premier League, mate.
Okay, of course, because they're favourites. So if you're the favourites, you've got to win something because you're the favourite to win it. But if they don't, of course, Liverpool fans will be upset. But if he wins the Champions League, they're not going to go, it's a disaster.
What's the minimum for Liverpool this season?
Premier League or the Champions League.
So one of those two big trophies they have to deliver.
Yeah.
Okay, you heard it here first from Jermaine Pennant. Let's touch on...
Fair?
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. You know, one of those two big trophies, they should be delivering. They're more than good enough. They've got top draw players. And I don't even think the competition is truly that intense right now. Liverpool can do better than they did in the Champions League last year, and I'm sure they will. Mark Gahey, like you mentioned, didn't become a Liverpool player. What would you have done if you were Mark Gahey over the last few weeks?
This is really a difficult one because he's done everything correct as a top professional.
Yeah, so we know you wouldn't have done that, but what would you have done?
What would I have done? Oh, I think I'm making noise because I was a Liverpool fan. So me going to Liverpool was a dream that I've dreamt of ever since I was kicking a football. So when that opportunity arose and the chance of going there, I didn't fall out with the club. I was professional in that way, but my relationship with my agent at the time was in tatters.
Were you at Birmingham?
Yeah.
What did you say to your agent?
I was like a little child, little kid. I was like, you do not call me unless this move happens. You better make it happen. When he called, I was like, what's the news? Are we signing? And he was like, well, and I put the phone down. I was a baby. Yeah, I was a spoiled brat. I was a little, was. And then I was actually on the training pitch, and then one of the members of the staff came running over and said, "You need to call your agent." At the time, my first thought for some reason was like, "Oh no, what have I done?"
To be honest with you, Jermaine, that's probably the right thing to think.
It was like, back then, I was young, it was a bit, I was like, oh man, what have I done? I'm in trouble. And then he phoned me. He says, "Look, what we do? Get ready now. Get off to Merseyside."
So it was that simple in the end?
It was like...
Do you think your behaviour actually, with your agent, helped it happen?
Well,
or do you think you were just getting on his nerves?
I was probably a bit of both. I was putting the pressure on him because, I think I was one of his star clients at the time, and it was, it would get a nice, handsome fee be going. So it was in his best interest as well. It made the deal happen. But it put some fireworks up the...
Would you have considered not playing for Birmingham at the time to make it happen?
See, the thing is, I didn't think of it in that way. Yeah. I didn't go that far. But knowing now, I don't think it was an issue with the club. I'd never had that issue.
Should Mark Gahey have done what Vista did at Brentford, what Isak did at Newcastle? And
look, is there a wrong way? Is there a right way? Because at the end of the day, two players have got to move and one hasn't. So. But the more professional and respectful way of doing business is Mark Gahey's way.
Mm. But you know this business. You've made a lot of moves during your time.
And sometimes... there's no loyalty with the managers. Like, the managers put himself first. The managers put his team first. The manager said, if Mark Gahey goes, I'm potentially resigning. Mm. That's putting him. That's not thinking about this player is probably your captain. Being a great servant, unbelievable player, respectful, down to the T, and you're stopping this player from a dream move just because you haven't got a replacement. That's not Mark Gahey's fault. Mm. So
you expect that relationship between them to be solid?
Oh, that's gone. That's gone. You kind of saw that after the Chelsea game. When he tried to call him back and he walked off. Now he's going to know that this is from the manager. Because Parish accepted it. It was doing a medical. So he knows this is the manager's doing. So now, that relationship now, you can't... How would you look at that? The manager, the guy, the person that stopped you from the thing that you've been doing as a little boy, you dream that one day your dream could come true and play for Liverpool, and the guy opposite you has stopped you from that dream happening. How would you look at him again?
What would you do?
The captaincy first, he can have that back.
Captaincy, yeah?
Yeah, he can take that back.
Mm.
Yeah, here you go, mate. choose a new one because I don't respect you. You don't respect me.
What about training?
Well, do you know what? I love football. I'll train, but it could be 80%.
Going through the motions, Jermaine Pennant might have been accused of that once or twice in his career. Anyway, former Liverpool winger with you on talkSPORT this evening, giving us his views on Liverpool and, of course, how maybe Mark Gahey should have acted. We'll talk about whether he would force his way out of a club in that situation a little bit later on when it comes to Vissa, Newcastle, and how the fans should react to Isak at Anfield and at St James's Park next time he comes to visit as well. All of that still to come this hour here on Kickoff. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Hugh, Woozencroft and the former Liverpool midfielder Jermaine Pennant. Later on this hour, I want your views on this. Howard Webb discussing that incident, that disallowed goal for Josh King of Fulham against Chelsea. We'll play for you a little bit later on this hour the audio, little clip of the audio of the officials and why they disallowed that goal. There was no real explanation. There was just we got that one wrong. Speaking to match officials mic'd up, Michael Owen last night, Howard Webb. What do we have to say about him? He was meant to sort things out. Are things just going from bad to worse? You can let us know your views on that. 03717 223344. Before then, let's get an odds update with Ladbrokes.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18plusgambleaware.org.
Delighted to say Alex Apati joins us from Ladbrokes. Good evening.
Good evening, mate. How's it going?
Very well indeed. Listen, it's the international break. It's time for us to take stock a little bit on what we've seen in the early part of the season. We know you're a big baggy, so we might as well start with the Championship, where you guys have had a positive start to the season. Has the needle moved when it comes to Ryan Mason's side and the front runners in the table?
Yeah, a little bit. I had to do some scrolling still. We're about seventh in the betting. It's a really tough one to call this season, isn't it? There's no runaway favourite, I don't think. None of the relegated three have flown out of the traps. Leicester, maybe. Although, bizarrely, we make Ipswich favourites at 4-1 still. They're 9 points off top spot. They've not won a game yet, but they've spent, what, £50 million, give or take, on players. You would assume at some point things tick, and it's just going to be a matter of how far behind they are when they do. You've got Birmingham and Southampton, a joint second favourites at 6-1 each. But again, it's hard to make a case for either at this point. Coventry are still unbeaten. They're 13-2, similar to Blues and Saints. So do they have enough in the tank to last the whole season in the title race? Probably not. Middlesbrough are currently top 4-4, looks solid. They're 8-1. It's easy to see why they're priced that short, I think. But yeah, looking elsewhere, as I say, you've got Leicester and West Brom around 11-1, which, look, I mean, I'll take promotion by any means, mate. I don't think we're going to go and win the league, but I don't know. I can't make a clear case for anyone at the moment, which at the very least, I suppose, makes it a great season ahead for the neutrals, doesn't it?
It's tough. I had Ipswich and Southampton as my pre-season top two. They've played okay. But, you know, they're not getting the results that really we expected so far. Scoring the goals, you know, that I thought there'd be a bit of a gap. As yet, that hasn't materialised. And it actually could be quite a classic season in the Championship this year with 6 or 7 clubs who could easily be in with a shout. Manchester United, let's talk about them. A few changes for many Man United fans, including me, who got a lot of stick after what you said last night. Not enough changes when it comes to their squad. In terms of what they did in the summer, has that moved how people are feeling about what they might achieve this year?
Yeah, I mean, they finally have a win, so there's a positive. And I think if you put the Grimsby game aside, I don't know, you're the one to ask, I suppose. I don't think fans will be too disappointed with their start. If you break them down, unlucky against Arsenal, points away at Fulham, and look, it doesn't matter how they did it. A win's a win against Burnley. They've obviously got a big couple of tests coming up. In terms of how their season looks, they're actually odds on to finish in the top 6. They're 10-11, so just shy of even money. So more likely than Spurs and Newcastle at the minute. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I did have them around 7th or 8th personally. Elsewhere, they're more likely to go down at 33-1 than they are to win the league at 40-1, which is never a good sign. But the reality, I suppose, will be somewhere in the middle for them. We spoke to Phil Jones earlier this week, actually, who doesn't think top 4 is out of the question at 7-2, but he did follow that up with it was more optimism than realism, I suppose. I mentioned a tough couple of tests coming up after the international break. First, obviously, away at Man City. They're 7-2 to win that against the Manchester City side, let's not forget, who are currently lower than United in the table.
Just on the point of Manchester United possibly finishing top 6, odds on, just with Ladbrokes. Jermaine, what do you think about their chances of finishing that high?
It's optimistic. I'm thinking optimistic.
Where do you think they'll be?
I'm saying 8th.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right. I feel similar, I have to say.
Are you
I feel
on
similar,
board with that?
Just outside the
Just
European
outside,
places.
yeah.
Anyway, less said about United, the better. What about the Premier League Golden Boot? We've brought in a lot of new name strikers into the Premier League. That means it's kind of going to be interesting to see how the likes of Gyökeres, Šeško, even the likes of Voltemada settle in this division. Are we still looking at the similar names in terms of the Golden Boot?
Yeah, I mean, you've mentioned 2 names there that I'm not even going to mention myself. They're nowhere near the betting, but I think there is some value to be had here, actually. Erling Haaland is favourite, of course. He's 5-6. I think it's a little bit too short. He's already scored 3. No one else has done that yet, but everyone else is 11-2 or bigger, and I think you could make a case for a couple. You mentioned Gyökeres, second favourite, 11-2, and I'm stating the obvious, but all right, he didn't really turn up against Liverpool or United, but I do see him bumping up those stats a little against probably the bottom half teams, particularly at home. But when you think about the last few seasons, Mo Salah scored 29 last season. Before that, Haaland 27, Haaland 36. Whoever tops the charts, you would think is going to score 25 or more, and I don't see Gyökeres doing that. We've got Alexander Isak at 7-1, who is already playing catch up. He's third favourite. He's 44 goals in his last 2 seasons, and Liverpool score for fun. So there's no reason to think Isak won't get over 20 this season. I think 7-1 is a great bet.
Good bet, that. Yeah, get your money on that, guys. Who was listening?
I thought you might like that one, Jermaine. Yeah.
On Liverpool, though, we've got, and here's the slight problem, I guess. You've got Ekitike 9-1 is another that stands out. The only thing you suspect which might damage any of the Liverpool players, and one who I haven't mentioned yet, is they'll probably just end up sharing the load. They're not going to score 5 or 6 every single game, so it'll be spread between the front three. And Mo Salah is a 10-1 shot, which might surprise a few. He already has one. But obviously he'll miss a few weeks later in the season with AFCON. So he's the third most likely Liverpool player to be top scorer. We've got João Pedro in there at 11-1. And then the rest of the field, your Sescos, your Voldemadas, 20-1 or bigger the field.
What do you think about the idea of the Liverpool front players, Jermaine, sharing the load? Will that mean that there's less emphasis on Mo Salah? Is that a good or a bad thing for Liverpool?
Oh, listen, sharing the loads, sharing's caring. So, so if you're sharing out the load,
yeah, listen, Mo Salah's the man at Liverpool, though, right?
Sometimes, you know, you take the burden off his shoulders, take the weight off him, you know, expecting him to always chip in with something, even though he does. He's out of the game for 85 minutes, and then all of a sudden he chips up with an assist or a goal. But if you can share the load along the front line, it's only benefits the whole team, the players themselves. So, yeah, share away, guys.
I should have said no to this show as soon as Isak signed for Liverpool. He's way too smug.
On that, there's, you know, you mentioned Arsenal and compared to Liverpool's front three, no mention there of Bukayo Saka, Martinelli, Eze, or anyone. So, you know, in terms of going forward, Liverpool have certainly are well stacked, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Alex Apati, thank you very much. That was a look at the latest odds with Ladbrokes. It's 18+, begambleaware.org.
Odds update on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18+, gambleaware.org.
So we're talking VAR next. If you've got a view on it, give us a call, 03717 223344. Is it time for an overhaul? We've tried to make it perfect. Is it time to reduce how much VAR intervenes in our games? That's next here on Kickoff.
Period was tough mentally for for my head, you know, with the injury, and trying to come back and feel good again. And after that, I'd say after about a year and a half, 2 years, I felt myself again.
England's World Cup qualifier against Andorra is live on Saturday afternoon here on talkSPORT. So too is the trip to Serbia on Tuesday night. Now, Alexander Isak is in great spirits ahead of Sweden's World Cup qualifier against Slovenia. That's according to Jon Dahl Tomasson, who says he'll treat the British record transfer with care.
So is he able to play 90 minutes? Of course not. Are we going to do stupid things? No, we are not going to do any stupid things with him. So we have a plan, but he's smiling and he's happy to be here.
Novak Djokovic says he's got a couple of days to get his body ready to face Carlos Alcaraz on Friday in the US Open. How does he feel about the fact that everyone in New York is expecting another Alcaraz versus Sinner final?
We don't need to spend words about two of them. You know, we know that they're two best players in the world. Everybody's probably expecting and anticipating the finals between two of them. I'm going to try to mess up the plans of most of the people, and let's see.
All your latest is at talksport.com.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Hugh, Woozencroft and former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant. Just a reminder, the latest episode of the brand new and refurbished talkSPORT Daily podcast is available right now. Following a flat goalless draw in the Old Firm derby, Rangers legend Ali McCoy is clearly annoyed with how far Scottish football has fallen behind the English game. He let out his frustration on today's pod. So tune in on the talkSPORT app or wherever you get your podcast from if you want to hear Ali's rant in full. It's worth listening to as well, so make sure you do check it out. But we're going to talk VAR next. We have to, because last night, like he's done on so many occasions, Howard Webb gave his explanations to the world for some of the recent decisions in the Premier League, which included a horrific decision at the weekend when youngster Josh King saw his goal ruled out for Fulham in a West London derby against Chelsea. Before we talk about Howard Webb's reaction, I want you all to hear it. You'll hear the referee Rob Jones' announcement at the weekend after they decided to rule out Josh King's goal, and you'll hear the explanation from Howard Webb on last night's Mic'd Up TV show. Have a listen.
After review, Fulham 9 commits a careless challenge.
It wasn't controversial, it was wrong. We've established some principles in terms of how we officiate in the Premier League and how we use VAR. If situations are not clearly wrong and the referee has made a call on the field, that call will stand, or at least should stand. And that's the message that we give to all of our VARs, particularly when we come to taking away goals that are so obviously such a crucial moment in the game. We should only be taking goals away when the evidence is very clear that that's the only thing we can do, and that's the guidance that we give to our officials. In this situation, that guidance wasn't followed properly. There was a misjudgment by the officials involved in this situation about how that contact happened between Muniz and Chalobah.
So we also, Jermaine and I, watched a little bit earlier on, aside from Howard Webb's explanation, the full interaction between the officials on why, firstly, VAR decided to call Rob Jones over. It took them a couple of minutes before they even decided to get the referee over to the monitor. That's a red flag immediately in terms of how clear a decision is. The referee comes over and literally in a moment, yep, you're absolutely right, I'll disallow the goal. He didn't need 2 minutes. It was virtually straight away that he thought, I need to overrule what I've done in terms of an awarding the goal. But then Howard Webb's explanation. Howard Webb should be in politics. Keir Starmer might be looking for a new deputy prime minister soon. I think there might be a job going with the Labour Party. It's so good. Oh, we've decided that the bar should be higher. Well, you haven't clearly got that message across to your officials. Oh, we've done this. The decisions are so much more accurate than they were. But yeah, we made a mistake on. This is every season, 4 or 5 times a season, that he repeats.
I'm the rest.
That he repeats those exact words. It's got to be a really high bar. Why are you telling us that? We're football fans. We expect that high bar to be followed. His officials don't follow them. It's regular. It's like they don't know what they should be doing as match officials on a regular basis. But the second thing is they seem to have forgotten that it is an entertainment sport. that, like Howard Webb says, they shouldn't really be disallowing goals unless it's something absolutely blatant. It's affecting the entertainment of football to such an extent that it's fair to suggest that they should row back completely on getting involved. Unless it is something so obvious, violent conduct, someone's been punched in the face, you know, a 2-footer, leg breaking chat. I don't want to hear from the VAR.
I'm baffled. It's 3 games have gone, and we've had 3 different occasions with VAR, and that challenge, it's not even a challenge. That you heard him say it was a reckless challenge. He had the ball. Josh King had the ball, so he's not challenging anybody. He did it.
Rodrigo Muniz, who did the little turn.
He did.
Rodrigo Muniz.
Yeah. So but he had the ball. So he did the skill, and it's called Little Maradona, where you go around the world. So he did that, and that his trailing foot afterwards can only go one way, and that's down, not left, not right, because just the way you do that trick. He's now employed people. There's people employed to do a job, to watch the monitors and to give the referees advice. The referee has gone through severe training to be a referee. He's then gone to the monitor and saw it on the monitor. But how does 2 people in Stockley Park, the referee who work as their job, refereeing in a game, who've gone through certain training, but the whole of the public who've played football, watched the game, the whole of the football community can come to the same decision and go, that's not a foul. But the 3 people who are employed to make the right decisions get the wrong ones. And it's not once in a blue moon. It's every week we're talking about VAR making the wrong decision. And I've said this a lot now. I said, it's about time they start getting people in there who have played football, to understand football, to understand that when you do a trick, your body, this can be in a certain motion, doesn't mean it's a foul. If you jump for a header, you have to use your arms to levitate. You cannot jump like a penguin. If you slide, you can't slide like you're in a bobsleigh. You have to use certain parts of your body as a footballer. You know that. You understand that. So little movements in this little round the world trick. It's a trick. If I was to do a step over and my body goes one way and my foot goes that way, if someone puts their foot there and that's not a foul. It's still a contact sport as well, guys.
I think it was absolutely horrific. But I think, like you've said, the 3 weeks that we've had so far in the Premier League has pointed to a big issue with.
Honestly, it's getting really frustrating now. These guys can see it in slow mo back with all these cameras, but everyone else can see it clearly. But they get the wrong decision. Who are they employing? What's their background? What do they know about sport? What do they know about football? How do they always seem to get the wrong decisions? But me, you, Tony, Jeff, Bill at home can get the right one.
I'm not suggesting that you would actually do it, you personally, as a job.
Well,
because there's a clear bias towards Liverpool, and we don't want biased officials. But you know, your peers, those of you that have retired from the game, do you think there would be an interest in some of the ex-players becoming VAR officials?
Right. Well, I just think, say when you apply for a job, you have to have on your CV some form of experience in or past a certain degree, whatever, to reach.
They have, haven't they?
Well,
they're qualified referees.
Okay. But what I'm trying to say, they must, I think now the criteria, you must at least have played some sort of level of football, whether it's Sunday League, whether it's, non-league, some sort of level of football to understand the game. Not sat at home, watch DVDs, studied this, studied that, to play some sort of level of the game, to understand the art of tackling, the art of shooting, your body positions, all this, to actually feel it and see it, to maybe then come to the correct decisions. Because they're seeing it from a total different perspective that footballers or people who know the game see it.
But I think we're looking for a solution where we don't need to find one. VAR needs to stay out of the game.
Well,
we don't need new people. We don't need new people doing VAR. We need VAR to stay out of the game as much as possible. What they seem to want to do at Stockley Park is get involved when they don't need to get involved. Stay out of it. I'd rather us sit here and say the referee in the middle of the pitch made an error and argue about that than 2 extra officials who aren't in the ground. I know we've had this argument many times, but to say that the 2 in Stockley Park made a mistake We're still quibbling over an error. Let the referee in the middle of the park make that mistake, and at least we can judge that official on whether they should be allowed to referee games of a bigger, more importance. We know they go to Champions League, we know they go to World Cups, etc., etc. Let the referee in the middle of the park take responsibility for refereeing the game, not VAR. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's supposed to be helping the refs. It's supposed to be like.
Sorry, go ahead.
When
I'm on a rant.
Yeah, when they miss something, they can go back and spot it and go, look, ref, you spot. But they're taking over, and he should have gone to the monitor and gone, no, I'm sticking to my decision. Look, he's actually got control of the ball. He's dragged it back with his right foot. His right foot then needs to be planted somewhere, and Chalobah's moved into his area and space. That's not a foul. That's a footballing incident. I'm right in my first decision.
There is part of me that thinks as well, needing 2.5 minutes before you've even called the referee over, we should probably now have a time limit on. If VAR doesn't interject on a particular incident within a certain period of time, 20, 30 seconds, whatever it is, then it's just gone. The moment has passed. Yeah. The game has gone on. Let's get on with it.
But
there seems to be no desire to just allow us to watch the game.
How can he say, though? This is honestly, my head's frazzling over it. How can he say a reckless challenge?
He calls it a careless challenge.
Okay, careless. Well, whatever it is, he's got the ball. He's doing a trick. I'm not challenging you. I'm doing a trick to beat you. I'm not trying to tackle you. This is this is where they need to understand the game a little bit better. It's because they're not gonna do less. They're going to keep intervening. They're going to keep making certain decisions, sending referees to the monitors. I just think they need to do a better job.
Yeah, I think it affects the product of the Premier League.
Yeah.
I think one of the things about the Premier League that made it what it was the combative nature of it. I think that's gone not completely, but we had, if you like, hard men in the Premier League. We had people who'd fly into challenges. You knew who they were. You'd almost relish those moments. Remember the Keane versus Vieira years. We wanted to see their midfield battle, not just because they were good footballers, because we knew they wouldn't pull out of a 50-50.
I'll tell you what, if there was VAR, I'd be playing for England. I'd have got so many penalties, free kicks, all sorts.
Yeah, no one could touch you.
I wish.
It's changed. It's completely changed. I hate to moan about it too much and sound, like two old men or whatever, and football used to be better and whatnot, but we brought in VAR for a reason, and I just don't see that it's made the positive strides in the game that we would want it to.
Just look, it's simple. Just come to the correct, answer, the correct result, the correct whatever it may be. Constantly, week after week, getting it wrong.
There'll be more. It's just the start.
There is.
We'll see if Howard Webb can sort things out when it comes to Stockley Park and VAR, but clearly the kind of decision that we don't want to see again this season. We're going to be talking about England next here on Kickoff. If you've got a view on a particular player, Morgan Rogers, who we'll hear from next here on talkSPORT, could he be key for success for Thomas Tuchel? That's next. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft and the former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant are with you. Let's talk England. Their game coming up Saturday, 5 o'clock kickoff at Villa Park as they take on Andorra. Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and former England captain Stuart Pearce are with you. Now, the home crowd are going to have a close eye on a certain Morgan Rogers, one of their own. talkSPORT's England correspondent Faye Carruthers spoke to the Aston Villa midfielder, started by asking him if he feels like he's cemented his spot in Thomas Tuchel's squad, having been called up once again.
I wouldn't say really cemented, as in there's so many players that are probably at home right now with the amount of quality that they've got, thinking that they should be sat here, and they've probably definitely got a right to be here as well. So I don't think you can ever be cemented. I think you've always got to know that people are trying to take your shirt, and that's the beauty of England football and being called up for your country. There's so many people competing, there's so much quality, and yeah, it's about you keeping that shirt. I think obviously I've been in all the squads, so it's just about maintaining that and staying in that and showing why I still deserve to get picked each time. And there's a challenge, the nervousness, and there's an excitement all into one, especially with the World Cup coming up. That's what everyone is dreaming, that's what everyone's hope is, but there's still a long way to go.
He's talked about wanting increased competition and has named a slightly smaller squad as a result of that. Who's your biggest competition, would you say?
I wouldn't really look at someone in particular as my biggest competition. I think myself. I think I know what I can do as a player. I know what I can show, and I know the ability I've got. I don't think anyone plays similar to me in that sense. So I think if I'm playing at my best and showing what I'm about, I think that's all I can do. And if I get picked, great. If I don't, then it's one of them things, and I'll go back to the drawing board and try and get in the next one, kind of thing. I think if I focus on plays and get bogged down, I think that's where clouds can get judged, and you kind of just change what you're trying to actually do and what you're trying to actually achieve. So yeah, I don't think I look at people as such. That's
a good way to look at it, I think. I feel like I can say this now in a World Cup year. How desperate are you to be on the plane over to North America? Yeah, it's a young little boy's dream of representing your country at a World Cup and at a major tournament, and it's something I've thought about since I was a young kid and all the way through the age groups at England. But I think there's a lot in between that, and I don't want to kind of get in the way of that, and I know what I need to focus on, and that will kind of take care of itself. If I start chasing things and thinking too far ahead, I think that's when I can get in a bit of trouble and start thinking about the wrong things and not focusing on what really is important. So yeah, of course it's a dream, and of course it's in the back of my mind, but it will stay in the back of my mind until the time's here.
He's a lovely player, Morgan Rogers. Seems like a lovely kid, and you can see the excitement on his face if you're watching us on YouTube. You know, he wants to be a part of England quite clearly, like he was saying there. He'll be desperate to be on the plane to Canada, Mexico, and the United States next summer. Is he right? Just tell me what you think about the way that he's going about it there. You know, he says, my competition is myself.
Lies.
Do you believe him?
No, absolutely not.
You think he's watching Cole Palmer every weekend?
Of course. Listen, he's not going to go on camera and say I'm Bellingham or Palmer or Foden. But in his head, he's thinking they're my competition.
Yeah.
Of course. You know, if there's two right backs or the two right wingers, and I'm one of them, and I've got to play better to get ahead of X, Y, Z, whoever's there. So he knows who his competition is. He's just sitting on the fence and being respectful and being very political, but he knows, and it's going to be very difficult though, because when you've got one playing at Real Madrid, you got Cole at Chelsea and Foden at Man City, and at the moment Villa are struggling at the moment, so that can sometimes go against you as well.
That's my major concern, if you like, and I'm hoping Thomas Tuchel, we're going to see what kind of manager he is when it comes to this. Yes, he wants competition. We know Gareth Southgate was one to spread his selection across a number of clubs. Before he became England manager, you know, if you played for one of the big clubs, there was a good chance you were going to get into the England squad just through playing Champions League football, whatever it might be, European football. Now it seems like it is a much more even spread, but someone like Morgan Rogers is still competing with reputation. You know, and it's big names. It's the likes of Phil Foden, who's not in the England squad this time around. But still, if he shows a little bit of form, people will be clamouring for Phil Foden to be back in that England squad and playing once again. You know, there's a raft of high-quality players not in this current England squad with big reputations. And for a lot of those players, if they can show a little bit of form Will that make Thomas Tuchel think, I need to include them, particularly the ones with prior big tournament experience?
Absolutely. And it's also the team as well. The team's got to be playing well. Aston Villa have not scored 0 goals in 3 games. So for Rodgers, he's a creativity player. He's great. So if you're on a team who can't score, that doesn't bode well on yourself. You know, how are you having a great game? How are you playing well if your team are not scoring, if you can't create, and if you're not scoring yourself? And then you've got, Jude, who's ripping it up, he's scoring here, his team's flying, his couple assists here and there. Same with Cole Palmer when he gets back fit. So he needs Aston Villa as well to play well as well.
But does it hurt him that Villa missed out on Champions League football on the final day of the season? The others are going to get a chance to show, aren't they, against European elite that they've...
100%, because when you're in the elite, when you're playing on the biggest stage, you're in the spotlight even more. It's not just the Premier League. I know Tuchel goes to most of the games, but I'm saying, but when you're playing against Europe's best, that's a shadow of international football. You're playing against, the world and Europe's best as well. So it's a good way to judge your players who you got. If they're, doing also well in the Champions League, it's like another ammunition you've got in your tank to use if you're playing in the Champions League.
There's part of me, I like his game, Morgan Rodgers, and I think he can work well for England given what may be around him. If he does play in that number 10 spot, we all assume that the likes of Cole Palmer and Jude Bellingham are going to be ahead of him. But I don't mean this in an offensive, to be offensive when I say this, he's much more of a simple player in the way that he links the game. He likes to get on the ball, 2-touch and move. I think he can bring others into the game in forward areas in a different way. And he can also get himself into the penalty box and ahead of the centre forward, for example, in a different way to the likes of Cole Palmer. Cole Palmer knows that from range, for example, he's got a great left foot. He can score goals from difference. He can dribble and use his individual talents in a way that maybe Morgan Rodgers wouldn't. But Morgan Rodgers is a very intelligent number 10, brings others into the game really, really well. It's a key pass at a key moment. It's getting in the box on the end of something at the right time. If he can show that throughout the season, I think he's a really good option for England. At this point in time, I'd probably put him ahead of Phil Foden.
Oh yeah, because Phil's been a kind of a shadow of himself, not being in the squad, not getting a start, injuries. But we'll go back to Morgan. He's got everything. He's got pace. He's got strength. He can dribble past players. He can glide past players. He can score. He's an eye for a goal. And look, you don't get Young Player of the Year in the Premier League if you're not a top talent. And he is. It's just that in front of him, there's also other top talents who's playing for one of the biggest teams in the world.
I think for all of the number 10s, it's going to be important to see how Thomas Tuchel sorts the midfield out.
Yeah.
We've seen the likes of Jordan Henderson included. Elliot Anderson's going to be interesting to see if he plays for England at the weekend, but he's come in. Wharton was in the squad. He's out with injury, but again, a lot of people looking to Adam Wharton. Maybe he could partner Declan Rice in the midfield. It feels like Jude Bellingham isn't going to do that role for England anymore, which makes the number 10 position for the likes of Rodgers even more tricky to get into. How would you like to see England's midfield configured by Tuchel? Is it a 3? Are we playing 3 at the back a 4-3-3?
I'm just going 4-3-3.
Yeah. And how would you want to see the midfield?
I've had enough of seeing defensive now. I don't want to see 2 defensive-minded midfielders. And if I'm playing for England, I'd like to see Rice in that
holding role.
And then I want flair. I want creativity. I want an engine. Gibbs White. For this squad now, I'm not saying when everyone's fit, because we've got, you got Saka injured, you got Foden, you got Bellingham, you got Palmer. Grealish is not in the squad. There's so many players who are not in the but for the team that's been picked, I would like to see Rice, Gibbs White and Rodgers.
It's a nice midfield. Obviously, we're going to beat Andorra. It was only a goal last time around. Hopefully, we'll beat Andorra with whoever plays in midfield. But Morgan Gibbs-White, we're going to talk about the midfield a little bit later on, so I'll come back to him because we'll hear from Ruben Loftus-Cheek as to whether Morgan Gibbs-White could turn out to be a key player for England in that midfield role as well. We'll come to that in the 9 hour here on talkSPORT. Remember, England playing Andorra at Villa Park in a World Cup qualifier this Saturday. It's a 5 o'clock kickoff here on talkSPORT. They'll then play Serbia next week, Tuesday. That game also live here on talkSPORT. In the next hour, we'll be talking about the journey from wonder kid to superstar. If you know what that's like, maybe from the perspective of a parent, let us know how it all works. How do you turn a 14, 15, 16-year-old starlet into a professional player? Or what happens to them when they drop out of the game? We want to hear from you. Give us a call, 03717 223344. That's next.
That period was tough mentally for my head, you know, with the injury and trying to come back and feel good again. And after that, after about a year and a half, 2 years, I felt myself again.
England's World Cup qualifier against Andorra is live on Saturday afternoon here on talkSPORT. So too is the trip to Serbia on Tuesday night. Now, Alexander Isak is in great spirits ahead of Sweden's World Cup qualifier against Slovenia. That's according to Jon Dahl Tomasson, who says he'll treat the British record transfer with care.
So is he able to play 90 minutes? Of course not. Are we going to do stupid things? No, we are not going to do any stupid things with him. So we have a plan, but he's smiling and he's happy to be here.
Never mind Kevin De Bruyne and Luka Modric moving to Serie A this summer. It's all about an Englishman knocking on the door of 40. That's according to Italian football expert Daniele Fischella, whose fantasy football WhatsApp groups are abuzz.
There's only one name that is circulating since a couple of weeks, and that's Jamie Vardy. Everyone wants Jamie Vardy. It's really almost a marquee signing that has overshadowed the other signings that come to Italy, from De Bruyne to Modric this summer. And you must say, I mean, Cremonese are really pulling all the strings. We've seen the pictures earlier of Vardy next to a violin. So they've made already a new nickname, Stradivardi.
Novak Djokovic says he's got a couple of days to get his body ready to face Carlos Alcaraz on Friday in the US Open. How does he feel about the fact that everyone in New York is expecting another Alcaraz versus Sinner final?
We don't need to spend words about two of them. You know, we know that they're two best players in the world. Everybody's probably expecting and anticipating the finals between two of them. I'm going to try to mess up the plans of most of the people, and let's see.
And minimum salary requirements have now been introduced in the top 2 tiers of women's football. That's part of a series of reforms being implemented by the new governing body. All your latest is at talksport.com.
Hugh, Woozencroft and former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant are with you on Kickoff. Good evening. This hour we're going to take a look at the journey from a highly rated young talent to a player at the top of the game. What are the pressures on both players and family, and what do clubs put in place to help make it happen? Do you think we put players in front of the nation too soon, or are the talents of the likes of Lamine Yamal enough to compensate for the negatives that also come with life in the limelight? We'll be joined by former Premier League manager Brian McDermott, former Crystal Palace midfielder Sean Derry, whose son is building towards a bright future in the game, and Lucy Ward will join us as well to tell us what it's like making sure player education and welfare is taken care of at a club like Leeds United. This is Kickoff. And we need your help on it as well. If you've got experience of player development, maybe that's coaching, maybe it's in education, even a teacher who's seen one of your students leave and make it in professional football, drop us a message on 81089. You can leave us a voice note on WhatsApp at 03717 223344. You can even give us a call at that number if you'd like to chat live on air as well. We're going to turn our focus to those youngsters grabbing the headlines for all the right reasons. A couple of examples in particular already turning from wonder kids to superstars.
If you are what you say you are, a superstar.
Max Dowman, 15 years old, has made his Premier League debut. He's come off the bench. Max Dowman, a fantastic moment for him.
To be so young and to be fearless, I think sky's the limit for him, obviously.
The 15-year-old debutant, Max Dowman, can you believe it? Winning the penalty, a dream debut really for him.
He does it naturally. He's not asking for any attention. He just does it. His teammates believe in him. He gives him ball all the time. Some of the data that he produced out of this world.
Engamoa to finish it. He's won it. Rio Engamoa, the teenager, has come up with a moment right at the end of a dramatic game at St James's Park to win the match. Engamoa, the teenager, has written his name into folklore.
Special for him, special for us.
Nice talent, good finish. Composed, brilliant finish from the Liverpool player.
If you're good enough, then you're old enough. Yep. And I think these young guys are knocking on the door and put the hours in, the best do more, and I think the fruits of that labour is really turning out now.
Yes, in this hour, we're going to look at what it takes to turn a footballing wonder kid into a superstar. We'll be speaking to a number of guests on the topic, from the management and welfare point of view to what it's like as a parent when their son wants to make it to the top. If you've been in any of those roles and you want to give us a call, please do. 03717 223344. Jermaine Pennant alongside me, the former Liverpool winger, once a young Notts County youngster. Before we hear from Simon Jordan talking about Max Dowman, who's just at 15 years old in that Arsenal team at the moment. One of those who inspired us to talk about this hour. You yourself made your debut in senior football, playing for Notts County at 15 years old.
Yeah.
I just want to go into the emotions, the feelings that you had making your debut. You'd been training with the seniors for a while before you did make your debut. What was it like in terms of your family and the club when it comes to support?
Well, I think the club at the time, Notts County, knew that they had, something special on their hands, and they did take a lot of care of me. And I lived literally, 20 minutes away from the training pitch in the stadium, but they put me in digs, which is...
Oh, really?
Yeah, they took me out of work because where I was from was a little bit of, it was very rough. So they protected me in that one because they didn't want me to, get mixed up with the wrong kind of people. So they would put me in digs even though my home was 20 minutes away.
So when you were in digs, were you staying with the family?
I was staying with the rest of the players who, would live...
in various
come from
places.
Mansfield, Derby, Lincoln, maybe wherever they may come from, and they all live there in this big.
So were your parents there as well?
No, my parents was just back at home.
Okay,
but I would just literally
just sleep in the
just sleep in there, train, go back there, and literally live like I was from from out of town.
What was that like? You were what, 14, 15?
I was 14.
14 years old.
Yeah. 14, so I was training and being a part of the YTS. There was no academy back then. It was like YTS. So first year YTS, second year, which is 17, 18, and then after that you sign your professional contract. So I was 14 playing with, 4 years kids who's
18-year-olds.
Yeah, or 4 years and older than me. And then I was training with the first team now and then. And then at my 15, when I was 15, I actually.
I find that amazing. I didn't know this, but just at 14 years old, that you're just not staying in your house with your family and you're surrounded by professional players, grown men.
Yeah, what I would do after school, I would go home, see my friends, and then I'd be curfew. I'd have to come back by 8 o'clock. I'd have to get back to the digs by 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
But going to...
that never affected you?
Well, it didn't. It did and it didn't.
I guess there were pros and cons.
There was pros and cons, and it was so exciting. I love football, and I can remember when I got the news that I was going to be playing in a game for Notts County. I rode in on my bike, my mountain bike, and I put my little bike in the changing room, right in the corner somewhere. But yeah, it was exciting, and when you're that age, I had no fear whatsoever. I just going into the game like it was another game. And you don't really feel the pressures. And then once you get in the groove, it was like, oh, this is unbelievable. This is amazing. And then a couple of weeks after that, I got a call up to play in the FA Cup, which was away against Sheffield United. Sam Allardyce was the manager. Travelled down and I made my appearance in the FA Cup.
Oh.
And then...
What were the feelings like on that day? What were your parents saying to you before the game when you told them you were gonna start? Do you remember what you said to them?
I said, Dad, I've been called up for the first team, and he was in shock.
Did they speak to him before they decided that you were going to be involved? Can you remember? Was it like they came to your dad and said, "Listen, we want to play him"?
No, I don't think they did. I think it was more the school. I think they told the school that I'm going to be playing in it, and all I can remember, like a couple of months later, it's they tried to offer me a pro contract, but we turned it. I didn't know this, but my father turned it down.
I see.
And then next minute, I know I'm getting a knock at the digs on the door. It's an agent and my father saying we're going down to London, and what for? Because we're going to go and sign for Arsenal.
And did you know the agent? Did you know them prior to that? No. Wow.
I had a different agent, but a different agent done this deal.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. But there was no communication with me along on this matter. And
so your focus was just football?
Just play football, and I loved it and enjoyed it. And then the move up into Arsenal.
When you look back at your career, starting when you were that young, do you think it was a positive?
No.
No?
It was a great... how can I put it? It was a great moment. It was a great development path. You know, I'm learning and I'm seeing some of the best players to grace the Premier League. Bergkamp, Vieira's, Arsene Wenger, the manager. But I think there's pros and cons of the development path. It kind of stumbled because I was playing first team football at the age of 15.
Mm.
If I'd have stayed another season, I would have probably been a regular by 16. Then if a team comes in to buy me, then if Arsenal came in a year later, they wouldn't have put me in their academy. I went from playing first team football at Notts County to then going into Arsenal's academy.
I see.
And then making a debut for them at 16 and then hit.
It wasn't long.
Yeah. But in the League Cup. And then after that, it just halted.
I see.
I didn't get my Premier League debut where I started until I was 21.
Wow.
Or 21 or 20. But I did score an hat-trick on my debut. But I think I was 20.
Thanks for dropping that.
Yeah, I think I may have been 20. So that's a good 4 to 5 years.
Yeah.
Where I didn't actually get a start. So...
You think you could have done more in the game had you been playing regularly as a 16, 17, 18, 19-year-old?
I think, you don't need... Yeah, because I was obviously in the academy then. So I'm not saying I was too good for the academy, but my progression kind of slowed down. I wasn't playing, against the top of the best and learning and week in, week out. Where sometimes it can be a con if you're at a big team. If you look at Wayne Rooney when he made his debut at 16, he scored a wonderful goal against Arsenal. And then Moisey was like, you've got it. I'm playing you again.
Yeah.
And then he continued playing. But if he was at a Chelsea, if he was at a Liverpool, if he was at a Man United, he might have got that debut that got the goal. But he wouldn't be a starter. And sometimes that can be frustrating for young players, and sometimes that can not depreciate your career, but put the brakes on it rather than elevate you. And I think that's the English mentality sometimes. If you look around Europe and you look at Lamine Yamal, Barcelona, like 17, we don't care how young you are. You're good enough. Yeah. You're playing.
16,
you're good enough. You're playing. 17, you're a regular.
I want to hear from Simon Jordan. We're going to talk about some of the youngest players in Premier League history in a moment. But Simon has previously discussed on talkSPORT the Arsenal wide man, I guess, Max Dowman, attacker I'd call him. Safe to say he's got very high hopes for the Arsenal wonder kid.
Well, this is a very talented young man that has the potential to be as good as anything that's out there. I hate to throw these superlatives around because it makes unnecessary headlines.
And there's
people.
So many things that can happen as well, yeah.
Yeah, if he continues on his journey and continues to be focused and develop, he is in the sort of talent bracket of people like Lamine Yamal. Wow. That's the level he's at. This kid is a special talent, kind of player that takes on players, beats them, and does it for fun, and produces an end product. He's a very, very gifted player. And we're seeing these younger players get opportunities. We saw Jude Bellingham's ascension. We're seeing his brother ascend. We're seeing other young players
Lewis
coming
Skelly
through.
At Arsenal himself.
Foden came through quickly and decided not to run away and get an opportunity in another country, wait for his opportunity and play for the best manager in the world, and Pep Guardiola. But if this boy Dowman continues the progress that he's got, he is a superstar. And I get the impression he's got the balance and the outlook and the backing behind him in terms of the structure of his life that will give him that opportunity.
Exceptional player. We're going to put to Brian McDermott, our next guest, the former Reading boss, about how you take care of a starlet like Max Dowman. That's coming next here on talkSPORT. If you've got a view on it, drop us a message on 81089. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT with Hugh, Woozencroft and Jermaine Pennant. This hour, we're talking about wonder kids to superstars. Jermaine was definitely that with Notts County, but said leaving the club at 15, 16 years old probably didn't help his career. He obviously went to Arsenal where he's made his Premier League debut, but had to wait a number of years for that to happen. Maybe the wait helped you in your career, I don't know. But we're going to talk about some of the likes of Max Dowman, who's obviously made his debut in the Premier League this year, 15 years, 235 days old. You heard Simon Jordan before the break talking him up. And that's maybe one of my concerns when it comes to these 15-year-olds, because you never know what's down the track for any player in the game. Let's speak to Brian McDermott, who's on the line here on talkSPORT. Former scout, obviously former Reading manager in the Premier League as well, with a wealth of experience in the game. Really appreciate you taking the time to join us, Brian.
Are you? Hi, Jane.
Yeah, okay, mate.
What we wanted to discuss with you, Brian, you've had, like I say, a number of roles across football, but at one point you were spotting the stars of the future and helping in the area of scouting and recruitment for football clubs. Let's start there. When you spot a potential wonder kid, someone that you feel like could do a great job down the track for one of the teams that you're working for, how do you sell professional football and academy to these families and to these players?
Yeah, well, I did most of my scouting at first team level. I was head scout at Reading for 9 years, so most of my stuff was first team level. And then I worked for Arsenal for a number of years. And, I saw Haaland play when he was sort of 17, playing for his national side. The thing with someone like Haaland at that time, he was obvious talent, 6'3", could run, etc., everything going for him. But to bring him to Arsenal at that time, and Jermaine's just spelt it out beautifully. At that age, would he have got into the team? And I spoke to his dad, Alfie, because I was manager at Leeds, and so Alfie and I had a bit of something in common. Would he have played for Arsenal at that time? Probably not. And his career was totally mapped out. They knew exactly where he was going to go. They knew where he was going to play and how it was going to be. And it was all about first team football for them. And, sometimes you get a youngster going to the Arsenal, to Chelsea, or whatever. Like Jermaine said, he didn't make his debut until he was 21 at Arsenal. And there's your problem. It's all about first team football. There isn't many Wayne Rooneys of this world. There isn't many kids that can play week in and week out.
Does it surprise you when you see the likes now of Max Dowman, for example? Ethan Nwaneri's another Arsenal player, made his debut last season when he was, I think, last season or the season before, at 15 years old. Obviously, we've all seen the rise of Lamine Yamal in a very short period of time to one of the best talents in the world. Does it surprise you that they are getting the opportunity to play for such big clubs so early?
Oh, the Dowman one is really interesting. 15 years of age. He's in the Champions League squad. So that tells you what you need to know about him. That tells you what the manager thinks about him and what the players think about him, because when he plays, they're looking to give him the ball in wide areas. So that tells you everything. When you've got experienced players like Declan Rice and he's looking to feed him with the ball, that tells you everything. I am just by nature a little bit fearful of that and some of the stuff that's been said about him, but he's by all accounts got a good head on his shoulders. But that's not an easy thing to deal with everything that's being said about him at 15 years of age. You know, time will tell on it, but he looks like an amazing talent. And Arsenal are bringing some young kids through. And if you're a youngster now, you want to join them because you're getting a chance.
Jermaine, before you butt in, I do want to ask you a quick question around, you know, you made your debut. I know it's Notts County, but you were 15 years old. You've seen these guys 15 years old in the Premier League. It was a very different time.
Yeah.
Social media, even the media landscape and the commentary that we make of players. We've been doing it with officials a little bit earlier on. Do you think you could have taken on first team football when you were 15 years old today?
It definitely would have been different because, like I said, when I signed for Arsenal, I didn't hear or see about it until I was travelling back down on the train when a gentleman opposite me had the paper, and I was on the back of the paper, and I was like, "Dad, look, there I am." But with the way social media is now and the attention that you will get, the followings that is probably now generated, the comments, the people that recognise him when it goes out, would be daunting for a 15-year-old. You know, you're a school kid, you're just messing about with your friends, and all of a sudden now you're this global kind of star. Would I have handled that? Probably not. But speaking about Max, Brian, to come on against Liverpool when he had the players, when he had Ethan on the bench, who's kind of more experienced in the Premier League, it just shows you how much of Max Dowman level-headed he is and how mature he is to come on in such a magnitude of that game.
Yeah, that's, listen, I'll tell you, he's not doing it because he wants to put a 15-year-old in the team. He's doing it because he thinks he can win the game. And that's the bottom line. So, yeah, I think it's incredible that at 15 he's playing at that level and he's bringing him on in such a high-profile game. So, yeah, there's no doubt about it. He's a major talent. But I would be nervous if I was a parent. I mean, obviously they're very, very proud, but I'm sure the manager will know when to put him in, when to take him out. I'm sure they've got great experienced players there that are going to help the boy because he's going to need it.
Yeah. Another quick one is that, do you think they've got to manage the way that they play him now? As in, what I'm trying to say is that he's had a taste of it, then all of a sudden leaving him out for a while, not using him, sometimes for me, it got frustrated. I got very frustrated, getting a little sample of training with the first team, playing a game here, and then all of a sudden playing well, and then not seeing, months and months of a game. Have they got to look after him, mental-wise? Oh.
No, there's no doubt about that. I mean, I made my debut for Arsenal at 17, and I actually fell out of love with football when I was about 15, and I'm still in football. That's like 40 odd years later. So that just tells you something, doesn't it? But the fun had gone out of it, and you know what professional football is like. If you're trying to play week in and week out, it's really difficult. It's tough, and you have to have a real strong mentality. I look back now and I let people like, I like to see the players that stop playing, mentoring these young kids that are coming through. I wish they were in the training ground. I wish they were around these youngsters to help these people. All the experiences that you've gone through, the ups and the downs, what an unbelievable help you would be to be around these youngsters to try and help them. And I'll keep talking about that. I've got my own mentor. I mentor coaches and managers and stuff like that now. So it's just vital. I think it's vitally important.
In your advice, and this might be for those even, there's going to be people listening to this who coach young players, right? Obviously not a professional level, but there might be similar pressures in terms of the lives of young people, albeit some might be at Arsenal, some might be playing, in non-league football. But if you were still coaching now and managing one of these teams, well, what do you feel like is the best way to approach having such young talents in and around the first team?
Well, look, as a manager, you don't look at them as a youngster. You look at them and you go, he can improve my team. He goes in the team. I worked with Gylfi Sigurdsson when I was at Reading, and Gylfi he went on loan to like Shrewsbury, to Yeovil, to these clubs, and he could hardly get a game. And he played out, and then we played him out wide when he started at Reading, and then he put him in a 10 position, and then all of a sudden he started to blossom. He got taller, he got stronger, and it took him till he was about 20 years of age. But, you know, you just... And it's a lot of one-to-one conversations with these young kids, you know. My nephew plays for Chelsea. He's been there 5 or 6 years, and he's 14 years of age, and he's full-time at Chelsea. He's like a pro footballer at 14. You know, he's in digs, he goes to school there, and he trains every day, day in and day out. That never happened for us. We were 16 years of age before we started full-time training. Now it's like 14 at places like at Arsenal and Chelsea and places like that.
Brian, really appreciate you joining us. Brian McDermott there, former Premier League manager, of course, as he told us, formerly a scout as well at clubs like Arsenal, who he played for. We're going to talk, actually, it's funny he mentions Chelsea, to a parent of a player, a young player at Chelsea. Former Crystal Palace and QPR midfielder Sean Derry will join us next. We'll find out from the ex-player, but also parent perspective, exactly how you turn these players from wonder kids to professionals. That's next. This is Kickoff on talkSPORT with Hugh Woozencroft and Jermaine Pennant, the former Notts County winger. Let me call him that. Because, listen, you started at 15 years old at Notts County, your hometown club. And it's been really interesting to hear your story. Also listening to Brian a few moments ago in terms of managing a young player. Now, I know a lot of you out there would have had some interactions with professional clubs if you had a really talented youngster in your family. We're going to talk about things from the parent perspective, but also ex-player perspective. Really delighted to say Sean Derry, former Crystal Palace and QPR midfielder, joins us on talkSPORT. Good evening, Sean.
Good evening, guys. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you. And this is completely coincidental. You are obviously ex-Notts County as well when Jermaine was coming through as a youngster. But he mentioned his debut game against Sheffield United in the FA Cup. You were playing for the Blades that night. So you were a first-hand witness to history, Jermaine Pennant's debut.
Well, I'm not too sure if Jermaine can actually remember as a 15-year-old coming over to train with the youth team. And I remember it really, really well. He came and he had this incredible audacity and confidence of a young boy. And the first team goalkeeper at the time was a guy called Steve Cherry.
Yeah.
And I remember really, really, kind of vividly that he chipped him from 25 yards. And I thought, wow, this is unbelievable. I mean, you can imagine the response from this senior goalkeeper. So, Jermaine, you might remember it.
Yeah, it
I
didn't
definitely
go down well.
do.
Yeah.
It didn't go down well. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, I was scared. I didn't want to shoot after that.
I loved it. I just thought it was absolutely brilliant.
There you go. The learning curves of professional football. We should mention Sean as well. One of the reasons we wanted to talk to you is you have a very talented son, Jesse, who signed this summer for Chelsea. He's a youth England international and hopefully will have a very bright future in the game. We were interested to talk to a parent who's had their son deal with, I think he was previously at Palace, now he's at Chelsea, some big Premier League clubs, who's playing with England as well. In terms of managing your son through the past probably 4 or 5 years where it's probably got really, really serious, what's that been like for you as a parent?
Well, of course, it's all new to me, Hugh. It's having had your own career, and our kind of era was very different to what the modern era is now. So I accept it and understand it for what it is. But I just feel for me and his mum Jo and his sister Lily. We've got a real responsibility, for them moments that he spends with us at home, away from Chelsea, away from Crystal Palace, where he'd spent a large portion of his youth career. And, that learning doesn't just start and stop at Chelsea or Crystal Palace. We definitely have a massive role to play as parents.
Yeah. Sean, what about the conversations when about first team, wanting to start, progressing and getting a sniff for the first team, and what's it going to be like, and the frustrations, because we know it's like when you're a star and you're at a big club, how difficult it is because there's so many players ahead of you. How do you manage that with him?
Well, of course, the team that he's playing is the second team. He's playing in the under-21s, and it's the second team in the football club, the closest to the first team. So you know what it's like yourself. Yeah. You recognise that some days you feel you're quite close to it. Other days you feel like you're a million miles away from it. And, to kind of manage that emotion of what certain weeks can feel and look like, and just keeping him on, kind of on this trail of just believing in what his own ability is through this a lot. And you know what it's like, mate, a lot of disappointing moments. You might not be, you might not be even picked for the 21s. You might not be asked to be going over the road to play, in the first team for an 11v11. And then suddenly, you've got to keep your foot down, and that's really difficult sometimes.
There are a lot of things that go into kind of turning your child into a professional. You've obviously been a player. How helpful has that been for you, just on his journey, relying on some of the experiences that you've had?
Well, look, I'm very lucky. My mum and dad have been incredibly supportive for me throughout my career. My dad was a non-league goalkeeper, so he had a fair understanding of what the game was. And all my dad ever told me, Hugh, was the truth. And sometimes the truth's pretty harsh sometimes. Yeah. I can remember as an 18-year-old boy coming away from playing only maybe my 7th or 8th first team game for Notts County. and having a stand-up argument in the kitchen at home with my dad because he felt that I hadn't tried as much as maybe he'd have expected of me. And I remember that now, to fast forward many years later to now being Jesse's dad. And sometimes you've got to tell them the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts. And that's not, I don't ever want to burst a bubble, of course not. You know, it's, we just want our kids to do well, all of us, whatever they choose to do. But this is a hard industry. Yeah. This is a very unforgiving industry. And sometimes, you know, you have to tell them what it really smells and feels like. Because I feel sometimes, you know, at Premier League clubs, at football clubs, you know, in the academies now that are at, you know, the fantastic academies, I sometimes feel that there's sometimes loose around the young players, and they just tell them what they want to hear a lot of the time.
I do want to ask you both, as ex-pros, these players coming in 15, 16 years old, has the game changed to allow this to happen more regularly? Yeah. You know, the football that I watched when I was a youngster, you know, it was far more physical, far more aggressive, if you like. But also I feel like what happens inside the changing room, you know, in terms of hierarchy, in terms of personality and characters, you know, it would be a very tough place for someone who's 15 years old, right? And now it feels like you don't speak to players the same way. You don't speak to your teammates the same way. Coaches don't talk to players in the same way. But also when you go out on the field, the game has changed. You know, it's so technical. You can't make the fouls that you used to. I'm not sure Vinnie Jones would have made it to the top level playing today. You know, do you, I'll start with you, Sean. Do you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think the game does change. It evolves constantly. You know, it moves at an incredible pace. And for me personally, I love seeing young players coming through. I think, you know, not only is it great for the young player, but I also think from a senior perspective, a senior point of view, if I'm that older, experienced player, my mentality was to try and guide them and try and help them coming through. Because you must never forget what it felt like as a young boy yourself, trying to stake a claim in a first team. You know, when I was at Notts County as the manager there, you know, I was very fortunate to inherit Jack Grealish when I took over in November. He was already there as a young loan from Aston Villa. He was only 17. So, you know, the management that maybe I helped with Jack looked probably a lot different to what it would have been for, say, an Alan Sheehan or a Jamal Campbell-Rice, who was an older player. And I think there's a real responsibility on the coach, on the head coach, on the manager, to understand that you're still dealing with kids.
The game has changed in terms of social media coverage. I mentioned it a little bit earlier on. I got to say, personally, if my child, even if it was at a big club, even if they were as good as a Max Dowman, for example, I'd find it hard to put them in that environment, having spoken to players and heard about some of the abuse that they get to put a 15-year-old in that environment. I just wondered, if you had that chance with your child, and when he was at Palace, they were saying they wanted him to play first-team football at 15. Would you have been okay with that, do you think?
Personally, yes, I would have, because I think, you know, when your opportunity comes, it comes in varying different kind of situations, whether that's as a 15-year-old, whether you're a little bit older and you're asked to play in a different position to what you've been accustomed to, through injury from somebody else's, you know, kind of unfortunate situation. These chances come very rarely. And, you know, I've jumped on the call and speaking, you know, hearing you guys talking about Max Dowman, and you're like, I know he's 15, but he's a great player. Yeah. And, you know, whenever it comes, and you've just got to grab it with both hands, and it might not come until you're 21. That's why the academies have took this to an under 21 league. It used to be an under 23, but it gives them more chance to come through. But I don't know. I mean, if I'm the dad, and I see my 15-year-old son being given that opportunity, of course, you know, you try and help him make that transition.
I totally agree. If you're good enough, an athlete, doesn't matter your age. Yes, you need protected in certain aspects, but if you can handle playing with the first team, if you can handle training with the first team, and the manager's got faith in you, absolutely. And when I'm seeing these like Dowmans, the Rio and Goma, I think you've got to give them the opportunity. Keep giving the chance, for sure.
Sean, I did want to ask you finally, we know your daughter is also a very talented athlete. She's a swimmer. How much has it differed in terms of the two journeys that your children have had with sport?
Well, of course, you know, you're dealing with an individual sport in terms of Lily and her experiences, you know, when she was right at the top end of her, you know, of her sport. It's very different when you're dealing with an individual sport. I mean, you know, the isolation is incredible, and that's really hard. That's really hard. And unfortunately for Lily, her journey came to an end round about 16, 17 years old, because she just felt that it consumed her so much. And she, you know, she was looking at different options, but that experience of being in a high level sporting environment from the age of 6 to 16, hopefully will stand her in good stead for what she decides to do next. And she's now working inside football, helping young players themselves in terms of through an agency. And it helps because I think sport gives you that grounding. And I love it. I love the fact that both kids are involved in sport.
Amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. Sean, real pleasure to speak to you this evening.
Cheers, Sean.
Really appreciate you taking the time. That is Sean Derry, former Crystal Palace and Queen's Park Rangers midfielder, of course, who saw a very precocious young talent in Jermaine Pennant at Notts County all those years ago. We're going to be speaking to Lucy Ward up next. Yes, of course, former Leeds United striker, but she's also the club's former head of education and welfare. We'll talk about what you mentioned, Jermaine, protecting these young players straight after this on talkSPORT. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft alongside Jermaine Pennant, and this evening we are talking about wonder kids and how they become, superstars. There's a lot that goes into it. It's been really interesting to hear the coaching perspective, the parent and ex-player perspective from both Jermaine and Sean Derry, who was with us a few moments ago. Lucy Ward joins us next on talkSPORT. She's, of course, an ex-player, ex-Leeds United forward, but also worked as the club's head of education and welfare at a time. Good evening, Lucy.
Evening, Hugh. Jermaine, you okay?
Good, thank you.
Very well indeed. And one thing that's come up throughout our conversations in this hour is protecting the young kids, right? And welfare is obviously very important when it comes to the youngsters at a football club. Obviously, you're broadcasting now with us, with ITV, with TNT, etc. But once upon a time, education and welfare at Leeds United was very much at the forefront of your thinking. And what was the most important thing when it came to taking care of the young players at Leeds?
It was an interesting role that I did I was there for 17 years, so it's 24/7. You're basically on call for everybody. And I always used to describe my role as everything but the football. But if you didn't have that little bits of glue, the welfare, happy players you have to be happy to become a proper footballer, to become a professional footballer. And so if these kids are not happy, if things are not right in the background, then they're not going to progress in anything that they do in life. So I think that, but what you've got to understand all the way is safeguarding is so important. So these kids that make the first team at 15, 16, they're still a child in the eyes of the law. So there's no argument about that. They might look older, they might behave older, they're seen as older, like Brian McDermott said, he just saw as a player that can make a difference. But they always have to be treated as a child in an adult environment. And that includes getting changed in a different changing room if you're under 18 and all, you can't wear the betting or anything.
Yeah.
So it is different. And so all of a sudden when all you want to do as a young player to fit in a first team changing room is to basically be the quiet and the invisible one, we basically stand out because you have to be treated differently. And that's pretty tough. I think that's the toughest thing, that sort of progression from being a youth player and an apprentice into a professional.
Well, a couple of things that have stood out to me, talking to Jermaine off air as well, around this going into digs, 14 years old, some of them kind of leaving school just a little bit after that, but staying in education at their clubs. So at Chelsea, at Leeds, at Arsenal, whatever, they're still learning, but they're kind of training and playing as normal as well, mixing their work life and kind of what they're going to be doing after they leave school with still being in school. How difficult is that? And also just being away from family of an evening.
It's tough for you because the whole environment, Jermaine will tell you, it's so competitive. They're competitive about the trainers that they wear, the clothes that they wear, their girlfriends, whatever it is, they're competitive. So then you go back into digs and you're living with the same people that you're competing with for a contract, for a position in the. So it is tough. And I had a lot of Irish lads or lads who came far away, so they had to live, and it might have been a plane flight home. And I remember the Irish lads in particular. One lad, I sent him home two weekends in a row because I just thought he's not going to survive this because he was so homesick. I always used to say if they can get to Christmas then of the first year, then they'll be okay. But you've got to be really, really sort of careful. You've got to be observant. You've got to speak to them. You've got to recognise the behaviour because, that not only are living away from home, but again, I talk about the competitive, they're trying to earn a pro contract. They're trying to do what not many people, I mean, they're already in the top 5% of footballers in this country, but not many of them will then make a living in the sport. So there's all sorts of things going on alongside. The education is important, and that has to be seen as important because what happens is if they don't make it or make a career as a footballer, then the education is the most important thing for them to do whatever they want to do, going forward.
Yeah, correct. Lucy, do you think Arsenal will have something in place for these starlets that they got? Like you touched on, he's a great athlete, probably built or maybe look like an adult, but his mind is still 15. His brain is still 15. It's still developing. It's not fully developed yet.
Not just Arsenal, and Liverpool, Rio. With
Liverpool now.
Jermaine at Barcelona, all of these youngsters.
So they're still going to do kiddie things. They're still going to do teenage mistakes. And now with social media, they're in the spotlight, you know, they're easy accessible. And also the press of the press, they will love to see people fall. They will love to see mistakes. And because you're a star, these kids will make mistakes. Who is the backdrop? Is it the club or is it the parents to, you know, warn them about these dangers? Because how do you tell a 15-year-old not to be 15 when they go on holiday with their mates? And someone takes someone takes a picture, and next minute, this is something that's going to be new to him, and the shock and, you know, the pressure that's going to come with it. Oh my God, you know, whose role is it to help them?
Well, I think in a club nowadays, they have a lot of welfare staff. They have a lot of player care staff. So, you know, these kids, you know that these kids are going to, you know, like you were doing, you knew that at some point you were going to be in a first team really, really early and maybe get your move, which you did. So everybody around you is ready for that. So what happens is, I'll give examples, James Milner, Lewis Cook, that I looked after. So Lewis Cook played in the under-18s at Leeds when he was 13, and we actually broke the rules doing that. We didn't know at the time, but he was a 13-year-old playing in the 18s, so that's how good he was. But he couldn't play until properly until his next year. So I dealt with the school. So I go into the school and go, right, we still want him to get as many GCSEs as he can. I mean, he had fantastic parents. He was such a diligent kid, which obviously helps. But can we make sure that it's the balance between getting the right amount and the right level and the grades of GCSEs, but ensuring that he's progressing on the other side, because football and being around an academy and all the additional stuff is such a good education, social education. So that's key. So you have loads of staff that deal with that individually. They'll have a mentor, I would think, particularly Cat 1 academies, Category 1 academies like Arsenal. Leeds weren't, we were a Cat 2, so it was all hands to the pump. We were all sort of involved. It takes a training ground to make a player. We always used to say that for everybody, particularly the welfare side, that you always chatting and you're always finding out what was wrong with these kids, if anything, any concerns that they had. But parents are key. You know, parents are key, and I think the parents of kids who are earmarked to make the first team debuts pretty young or going to be professionals, they've got such a responsibility. And, you know, listening to Sean earlier, obviously being an ex-pro, I think he is so key when you are an ex-pro, because he knows exactly what to say to his child. He knows exactly what to say to Jesse. He knows exactly how it works. Not many parents do. You know, you get parents from all sorts of backgrounds that have absolutely no idea, and then you've got people always wanting to, you know, agents around them. You know, I'll tell you what, I'll give you some advice. So there's all this, but the clubs are very, very good nowadays because the safeguarding, and you look after the child and the child comes first, but also these are assets. These kids are assets. You know, they'll end up being worth multi-million pounds. It's so important that every aspect, but it's like going back to what you said, Jermaine, it's so very difficult they have to grow up very, very quickly. I think that they have to, you know, you have to make good decisions. And I always used to say that to the lads, make good decisions. You know, that is so important. And that is, you know, when you come from an academy, if you leave as a better person and an all-round person who appreciates all different types of people in the world, and not everybody's the same as you, but you sort of open your mind to that, that is key. And that obviously also helps if you're going to be a professional footballer as well.
So, listen, I cover the EFL, and if you watch the highlights, you know, the surnames, it's like watching Match of the Day from 2006. You know, it is so many ex-players, kids are now playing professional football. And do you think it's just the experience of being on the journey previously that has helped them?
Yes, it is. I tell you what, it's a massive, massive advantage, because a parent or parents who have been through, you know, so obviously the mum will have been a wife of the player going through it. That's key as well, because there's all sorts of different pressures there. But they just understand how it works. They understand not to get carried away. So like Sean was saying about his son, you know, one week they might be with the first team, the next week they're playing with the 21s. How do you cope with that? Now, when you go home and you've got someone going, just, you know, you've got to get on with it. This is all part of it. This is, you know, rather than a parent who feels the disappointment of a child coming back, you know, your parent might do any job and go, oh yeah, that's a nightmare. What a nightmare. You know, it's just, you can you can be high and you can be very low, but as long as you stay somewhere in the middle, and I think that that's what an ex-pro offers their child, if the child's going to be a footballer.
Lucy, real pleasure
Amazing.
to talk
Thank
to you.
you,
Lucy Ward there, former Leeds United forward, of course, one of our team here at talkSPORT, but also formerly Head of Education and Welfare at Leeds United. Been a very interesting hour. I'm going to try and come to some of your messages after this. Next hour, we'll also be talking about England. We'll hear from midfielder called up for the first time since 2018, Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Stay with us on talkSPORT.
Ruben Loftus-Cheek was at his mum's house when he got the text from the England camp. It's been a long time coming for the AC Milan midfielder. A string of injuries sparked a 7-year absence from the England camp.
A lot of that period was tough mentally for my head, you know, with the injury and trying to come back and feel good again. And after that, I'd say after about a year and a half, 2 years, I felt myself again.
England's World Cup qualifier against Andorra is live on Saturday afternoon here on talkSPORT. So too is the trip to Serbia on Tuesday night. Now, Alexander Isak is in great spirits ahead of Sweden's World Cup qualifier against Slovenia. That's according to Jon Dahl Tomasson, who says he'll treat the British record transfer with care.
So is he able to play 90 minutes? Of course not. Are we going to do stupid things? No, we are not going to do any stupid things with him. So we have a plan, but he's smiling and he's happy to be here.
Never mind Kevin De Bruyne and Luka Modric moving to Serie A this summer. It's all about an Englishman knocking on the door of 40. That's according to Italian football expert Daniele Fischella, whose fantasy football WhatsApp groups are abuzz.
There's only one name that is circulating since a couple of weeks, and that's Jamie Vardy. Everyone wants Jamie Vardy. It's really almost a marquee signing that has overshadowed the other signings that come to Italy, from De Bruyne to Modric this summer. And you must say, I mean, Cremonese are really pulling all the strings. We've seen the pictures earlier of Vardy next to a violin. So they've made already a new nickname, Stradivardi.
Novak Djokovic says he's got a couple of days to get his body ready to face Carlos Alcaraz on Friday in the US Open. How does he feel about the fact that everyone in New York is expecting another Alcaraz versus Sinner final?
We don't need to spend words about two of them. You know, we know that they're two best players in the world. Everybody's probably expecting and anticipating the finals between two of them. I'm going to try to mess up the plans of most of the people, and let's see.
And minimum salary requirements have now been introduced in the top 2 tiers of women's football. That's part of a series of reforms being implemented by the new governing body. All your latest is at talksport.com.
You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh, Woozencroft and the former Liverpool winger Jermaine Pennant are with you. This hour, could Ruben Loftus-Cheek sneak his way back into the England team after years away? We're going to hear from the AC Milan midfielder. Jermaine will also give us his lineup for Andorra. And I think we'll round off our conversation on wonder kids in the Premier League. If you've got a view, drop us a text on 81089. You can give us a call as well, 03717 223344. It was a very interesting hour. My thanks once again to Lucy Ward, Sean Derry and Brian McDermott, and those of you that got involved in the conversation around turning wonder kids into superstars. A lot of the focus was on Max Dowman and Arsenal, but I think it's fair to say Rio Ngamoa, who scored that great winner at St James's Park in the 110th minute, is looking like he could be a sensational player in the future. Lamine Yamal is obviously the big example, who we already are so accustomed to. I think he's 17. No, wait, he just turned 18, didn't he?
Turned 18, yes.
It was an interesting one with him turning 18 as well, because as soon as he did, it felt like the Spanish media were all over him for negative headlines. It felt like literally days after his birthday. We know there was an issue with his actual party, but suddenly the conversation turned, and Yamal, it's like he's a man now. We can treat him. We can treat him differently.
We're coming for you.
Yeah, that's how it felt with Yamal, and that's one of the reasons why I said it earlier to Sean Derry. It was interesting to hear him say he would definitely be okay with his son playing at 15 for a first team in the Premier League, because you don't know when your opportunity is going to come. I've always felt that if it were my child, I'd want them to be a little bit older. I think about the independent regulator, for example, that's coming into English football, and I wonder whether they should have a hard and fast, listen, you can't play senior football in England until you're 16 years old in the professional game as a possible.
I don't know.
Would you agree with that?
No, I think if your son, child, or girl is good enough to play first team football.
But it's not about, and here's the reason that I say I would hold them back. It's not about talent. It's about some of the psychological pressures that come with being a professional.
But then that's what a parent is. That's what being a parent is.
Your parent can't stop you being abused by thousands of people, can they?
I know, but what normal person is going to abuse a 15?
Mate, are you serious?
I know. Look, I get it, but it's look. Kids nowadays are not stupid. 15-year-olds, they watch films, they watch football games, they go to games, they hear it, they see it.
Mate, we hear older players. You think of Antoine Semenyo early this season talking about the effects of what was said to him by one individual. He's obviously a lot older than 15 years old. But it can have an effect on you.
Yeah, it totally can. But I guess it's all walks of life. Your child could walk down the street and get attacked or abused or whatever. It could be in any situation. I think you would think probably a bit more safer on a football pitch playing for his team.
No.
I
personally would think the opposite.
I would. My son, daughter, I'm saying you get out there. Show the world your talent. Show the world on the biggest stage how good you actually are. And, you go out there and enjoy yourself.
Okay. But I
and then I will protect
granted,
you and protect you with any fallback, anything negative you get. I'm here to protect you, and we'll you know.
See, I know I'm discussing the worst case scenario, so obviously you can take shots at me on that. It could go amazingly. You could be a hero. You could be Lamine Yamal and enjoying yourself and going
scoring
to
at St James's Park in the 110th minute.
It could be sensational, but I just think if you're a parent and you're trying to do everything you can to protect your child from some of the worst aspects.
I know, but this is a child's dream. This is like
it is. But if they're that good, you know it's going to come eventually.
I know, but what's the point in waiting? Like, hey, this is your time to shine.
That's my point. I think personally, I would have to be very secure that the mental health of my child isn't going to be affected by the possible downfalls of professional football, which you've experienced. You've experienced firsthand, and like we just said. You know, Max Dowman might go away with his friends next summer. He's only going to be 16. There'll be cameras pointed at him. There'll be selfies everywhere he goes. Every football fan is going to recognise him. His summer holidays this year compared to next year are going to feel completely different.
Yeah.
You know, he's now going to think, I don't know, do I book myself a boat and sit on a boat in the middle of the Mediterranean as opposed to actually going onto the mainland? Because
get yourself
things
to where
do
you
change.
go and enjoy it. Enjoy it. And
because you enjoyed it,
I certainly did. But then it comes a point.
But here's the thing:
the bigger he gets.
But when you had negative headlines written about you, are you saying it didn't affect you at all?
Well, of course it affects you, but it's part and parcel of being in the public eye. If you make a mistake, and then you will get.
But children make mistakes, so we know.
Yeah,
we know at some stage.
And if your child made a mistake, you're not going to call him out. If he makes a mistake,
but my point is, knowing that my child is probably likely to make a mistake, I'm probably going to try and keep them out of that public eye for as long as I can.
You can't put children in cotton wool to a certain aspect. You've got to let them live. You've got to let them, see the world. You can't protect him, yes, but not to an extent where you're stopping them, playing in a first team game and something that they may not experience again, but obviously will. But it's all part and parcel. You've got to let them grow.
Do you think if you were a parent, your child was going, say for example, they were about to make their debut in professional football, would you have a conversation with them about, listen, here's the things that you need to look out for in every regard, i.e. from a football standpoint, you're going to advise them things they need to look out for on the pitch. You're going to tell them. You're going to tell them all about that. But
personally,
let me just finish. Would you also have a chat with them about, listen, there may be some negative things that come your way, and try and help them in that regard, or would you wait until it actually did happen?
You just tell them, look, you may hear all sorts on your debut from opposite fans, but I think you don't need to tell a 15-year-old that nowadays.
No,
I don't think
they know.
They know. I think a 15-year-old knows what he's getting onto when he steps over that line and plays football. These kids probably do it in the park. Give each one abuse.
It's different,
I know, but you just.
And I'm not thinking. I'm not thinking as much of what happens in the stadium. But if you have any player that has a bad game, they get abused. That just, if they've got social media, they're going to see people speaking negatively about them if they have a bad game. If they have many bad games, it's going to get worse. If they foul a player badly, whether they meant it or not, they're going to get abuse. If they miss a great chance, they're going to get abuse. That is professional football in 2025. You have to have a great game or be basically incognito to avoid abuse on a weekly basis. So I don't know how you can prepare a child for that. But as a parent, for me, I'm looking at what's happening to professional players in 2025 and thinking, I'd rather my 17 or 18-year-old son or daughter have to encounter that than my 15-year-old.
No, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, but again, these kids know on a football pitch, they know what they're kind of getting themselves into, especially when it's the men's game. They know what it's like. Like I said, they've all watched it. They've all been in the stadium. They've all probably commented on other people's performances and within group chats. They're very wise and very, to be thrown in the deep end to start a game, you have to have. You have to be wise and up for the moment.
Speaking of which, wisdom. We've had a message in. Let me read some of your messages. James in Beverley says, a big part of this is putting the right financial advice to ensure that a good income is grown into wealth that lasts. As an ex-teacher, I know that there's nothing in the school curriculum that supports this. Too many sports people have been given the wrong advice and then suffer upon retirement. Good, honest financial advice is a must. He said, Lucy has said that for the lads that she worked with need to make the right choices, which is very true. Steering them to the right people is imperative.
Now, that's probably the best advice you could give all these youngsters. Not about if you're going to get abused by Derek, who supports Tottenham, or, you know, XYZ who supports Everton. It's about that. You know, they're going to, you know, Dalman's going to come into a lot of money within his next couple of contracts, you know, if he continues on this trajectory. So that's the advice they would need. That's the advice as a parent you would have to show him and make sure and manage. Not about, you know, if you don't have a good game, you might get a bit of stick. Like, oh, come on, that's not an issue at all. We'll probably make him tougher and you know, give him a bit of thick skin.
Yeah. This message, guys, I find this topic fascinating. I don't think there's a name on this. I was at a pro club until I was 16. I was let go and it killed. I gave up football for a year, but then I found non-league. My son's now 14. He's also at a pro club. The best advice I can give is that there's such a great world of football out there, which is not pro, but also in non-league. He says, I take my son to Billericay often. We've seen Jermaine play there. We show him the world out there that is not professional, but still a great level. And there is also money to be earned. And that is an interesting kind of topic that we never really spoke about, because we spoke about from wonder kid to superstar. Yeah. We haven't really spoke about when a player that everyone believes is going to make it, going to be a great player, who just tumbles down the pyramid. You know, there are examples of players that, you know, you think of, I think he had a good career, but, you know, John Bostock, remember he was at Spurs and Palace, and it was spoken about he was going to go to Barcelona, etc. You know, for his name to be spoken about as a player who was, if you like, that their career didn't fulfill what everyone thought it would, that's kind of the reputation that they hold afterwards, is a difficult thing to take, even when you're in your mid-30s, you know, let alone someone who's maybe 21, 22, who's moved on from one of the big clubs and is playing lower down the pyramid. And everyone goes, aren't you that guy that was meant to be playing for Barcelona, right? What happens? You must have known a load of players who've dropped away from big clubs. What happens when it doesn't quite work out for them?
Yeah, it's difficult. You know, the one that comes to mind is Jordan Ibe at Liverpool. And I think it was the next Raheem Sterling. And obviously just didn't happen. And then he, you know, went for a big fee, you know, then 30 million to Bournemouth. It didn't happen there. And then you slowly slid down the pyramid. It's different. And
he's had issues with his mental health.
Yeah, because you've got this dream and you have it and you've got it. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, it starts to slip away. And you're constantly fighting this battle to try and get that fix back, that thing you've been doing all your life, and you're just slowly losing that grasp on it. So of course it's difficult, and you just need people around you, and you need a lot of heart, a lot of will to continue to fight and not give up. You know, keep practicing and try and get to where you got to, because it wasn't fluke where you got to initially. It's only 1% of people who make it to play in the Premier League. So you've somehow, like I said, you really got to work hard on yourself and be mentally strong, because if you're not, you find yourself just losing hope, and that's when you go on that dark downward spiral.
Really appreciate everyone that got in touch on the topic. Really appreciate the honesty from you, telling us about your journey as well, Jermaine. We're going to be talking about England up next, and Ruben Loftus-Cheek, someone who's been on a journey of his own. He'll tell us about the injuries and making his way back into the England team, squad for the first time since 2018. All of that coming here on talkSPORT. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh Woozencroft alongside Jermaine Pennant. Just to let you know, this Saturday, rising Brit and Olympic silver medalist Pat McCormack faces seasoned Mexican Miguel Parra for the WBA Intercontinental welterweight title showdown. You can watch it only on DAZN.
Boxing update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Sign up now at dazn.com/boxing.
On the roads to Mexico, USA and Canada.
Louis Skelly checks in. Oh, what a start!
The fans want to see England end the years of hurt.
More boos from the England fans that have stayed in. Andorra nil, England 1.
We all think that there's a lot of decent players and a clutch of decent players, but it's getting the balance right and the formula right that is his job.
3-1, the first African side ever to beat England. It's back to the drawing board.
Defeat is bad enough, but the performance, I think, that leaves a lot of questions.
We feel that we are lacking the enthusiasm and the joy consistently on international levels.
I'm still believing Thomas Tuchel.
When you're here, I think it's important not to get too frightened about the situation.
It's James. Oh, it is magnificent.
It's for me a key period now that we improve, that we play with more rhythm, that we create an identity.
I think he's just finding out how hard it is to be the manager of England.
So England, 2 games coming up during this international window. Saturday, they will host Andorra at Villa Park. They'll go to Serbia next Tuesday. That game, both of those games live for you on talkSPORT. Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and former England captain Stuart Pearce. Your team for England games. Of course, Faye Carruthers with you as well as our England correspondent, updating you on everything. We're going to hear her talking to Ruben Loftus-Cheek in a little bit. But let's talk about, well, maybe not the game against Andorra per se. You heard a little bit of Thomas Tuchel there, the England manager, saying he wants to use this key period, to help create an identity for the England team. And that's where I wanted to start the conversation. You guys can join us on what you think this England team should feel like. What should their identity be from a footballing perspective? You can drop us a text on 81089. Jermaine Pennant, what should England represent when they walk onto the pitch?
I like to see attacking on the front foot football. We're going to dominate possession, most teams would play. And I think over the years, we've been very, very defensive minded and not aggressive enough with the players that we've got and the damage that we can do to teams. We usually start tweaking things and changing things when we go a goal behind. Then we look frightening. Then we look like we're going to cause a lot of problem. We should be going on the front foot, being absolutely like animals. 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, 4-0. None of that. Let's just, okay, yeah, we've scored a goal. Let's not concede now. And like to see, just a bit more ruthlessness with the players we've got. We should be dominating teams.
I think that comes down to style of football, and I think Thomas Tuchel's absolutely right in that England haven't really had a rhythm, particularly when they go forward. Patterns of play, that needs to be sorted out in terms of how we see England score goals. Their ability to go 1, 2, 3, 4 is going to be based on how successful they are on replicating those patterns of play going forward. In terms of their approach, I'd love to... Yes, I agree with you. Firstly, they should be much more aggressive, but it's still international football. And I think that's what's hurt England, in that they've been caught between doing the things that make their players great when they're playing for their clubs. And this is, by the way, for a long period of time. Gareth Southgate, and you can go a lot further than that. And what's conducive to being successful in your international football? And I think we've had managers who've gone, well, we need to keep a clean sheet. If you keep a clean sheet in international football, especially with the players we've got, you've got a great chance of winning matches. And so we've seen that with England, particularly in the summer, the Euros, last summer when they got to the final, in that they didn't play well, but they were keeping it tight enough to keep themselves in games. They got a goal. If they got one goal in a game, they either won it or they took it to extra time, got that second, got themselves over the line until it came to the final. They scored one goal in that game, but again, they weren't a fluent team going forward, and that ultimately cost them in the tournament. But because we're being successful in getting to finals and semi-finals, it's hard for the players to move away from that safety mode of, well, we know if we keep it tight, we know if we keep ourselves in the game, then we've got a chance. So how does a coach change the mindset and culture of players to suddenly go on, guys, run riot?
He's got the power. He gives us the tactics. He tells the philosophy. He tells how he wants to play. He picks the players. He gives them instructions. So you've just got to go out there and tell the players that we've got, and look, be expressive. When you're going forward, do what you do for your club. Be expressive. You go out there. And as a team, because look, there's going to be periods of the game where the opposition's going to have a bit of luck and a bit of joy, and we just be compact and solid. But then when we've got the ball, I want to see energy. I want to see passion. Your trickery that all you players have got. They're not, because these are world-class players that are in our team. So just go out there, do your business, and just, like I said,
it can't be that simple.
It can be, and don't hold back.
If it was that simple, we would have won the World Cup already. Go on, guys, do your stuff.
Well, it wouldn't, because we had a manager who wasn't proactive. He would react when something was going wrong. He just didn't want to concede and didn't want to lose. It was like Mikel Arteta going to Anfield. Let's not lose this game. If they would have gone out there, started Eze, if they would have gone out there, started Odegaard, they could have won that game. So it's similar with Southgate. Let's not concede. We've got enough that we can score. No. If they score, we score 2. We score 3. If we concede, so what? Let's score 4. Just be out there. Just the players we've got. Backside, back to the defence. It's boring. It's slow. Just go boom, boom, boom. Like we see in the Premier League. All these players do it at Premier League level. All these players do it in their clubs. There's nothing wrong with telling them to, right, boys, let's just, same philosophy. Let's generate a club football. Let's generate, like it's a Premier League, a club team, and let's just do that.
The problem with that is the Premier League at times can be highly exciting because it's a bit of a basketball match. Games go end to end at times. We love them as fans. In international football, England against the biggest nations, we don't want that to happen. I don't feel like our coaches have been convinced that we can defend well enough when the game is really stretched, going back and forth. And you look at the England defence at the moment, we obviously haven't played that well
Okay, so what joy are we going to get by playing against a nation like France?
I agree with you. I'd rather win 4-2 than 1-0.
Like a France, Spain, Germany, whoever. If we against these top nations, if we're saying we haven't got a good defence, but we're going to just try and sit back and hope you don't score, no, it's not going to work because it's proven. Hence why we've not won anything. So we might as well take a different approach. And do you know what? Our strength's not defending. Our strength is what we've got midfield and going forward.
I would love to throw the kitchen sink at everyone we play, to be perfectly honest. Simply because...
Actually, listen, you've got to be clever at times. You've got to...
No one's saying don't defend or...
But for 85 minutes, that's not just...
Yeah. But what I mean is waves and waves and waves of attacks. You know, what top teams can do. Yeah, once you've scored 2 or 3, you play differently. Once you've scored a couple, especially against a big side, you can go back to keeping possession and not making mistakes. But those early stages of a game, England can be tentative. Games can be, we get to half-time in certain games, we're like, oh, that wasn't great. They really need to improve in the second half. When really we should be saying, we're out of sight, half-time.
Yeah.
We've hit the ground running. We've tore into teams. 5 substitutions, right? You've got a host of players that play in the Premier League. I think we need to use the physicality and aggression of English football a little bit more in the international game. And that's one thing that's kind of let us down, I would say.
Exactly.
We've tried to match the French style, a Brazil, an Argentina. We're not them. We're England. There are things that make English football great. And, okay, I know a lot of people are saying, well, listen, we've had loads of Premier League players previously. We've gone to tournaments and other clubs embarrass us. I think we've reached a stage now where our players are so technically proficient that there's that gap that used to exist has been closed. We have a squad as good as anyone in the world. We've now got a manager as good as any other internationals team. We don't have any excuses. But I think when it comes to approach, it has to be put it on them. Big time.
Like you said,
tear into them.
English football. How many times have we heard of players coming to the Premier League? Sasko just said it. Gyökeres just said it. Florian Wirtz has said it. The intensity level, the speed of it, the physicality of the Premier League, it's totally different.
We seem to not be able to hit those levels when there's a 3 lions on the front of the shirt.
But then is it the players scared of the nation, the press, the downfall that comes with it if you don't do well? Or is it the manager holding them back? Because we don't know yet, Tuchel, let him kick in. But before, is it the manager holding them back? This is what I'm saying. Take the reins off. Boys, go out there. Enjoy.
There's a possibility he did that against Senegal and we lost last time out. So he said he wants us to be more exciting. He wants us to be more on the front foot. And England haven't played that great. The start of his tenure has been very underwhelming. We'll talk about that next. If you've got any views on the England team, give us a call. 03717 223344. You're listening to Kickoff on talkSPORT. Hugh, Woozencroft and Jermaine Pennant, the former Liverpool winger, are with you. Just a reminder, the NFL back once again. The talkSPORT network's going to be your home for live coverage this season, and it all gets underway Thursday night. The reigning Super Bowl champions Philadelphia Eagles will face their bitter rivals, the Dallas Cowboys, in the season curtain raiser. Then over the weekend, 5 further exclusive commentaries on talkSPORT 2. So it's touchdowns all the way to the Super Bowl on the world's biggest sports station. Time now to look at the latest football action, though, with Ladbrokes.
The Big Preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18+ gambleaware.org.
We'll take your calls on England, 03717 223344. What should their identity be? We'll discuss that very shortly. First of all, let's hear from Ruben Loftus-Cheek. The AC Milan midfielder received a late call-up to the England squad. He's been speaking to the media and explained what helped him in his younger years, which led to him becoming an England international.
You know, that's why I kind of played my football, was on the street and in the cages every day. And I think you develop technically, even though I'm a big guy, develop technically a lot in those cages. So I don't know if that's what it is, but I'm sure the boys that come from London did the same thing in the cages every day after school, things like that. So yeah, I'm not sure, but that's my take on it. I think it helped me develop so much technically that, you know, when you step on a big pitch, it becomes easier.
A different type of midfielder back into the England squad. Adam Wharton out with injury. Ruben Loftus-Cheek comes in. No Curtis Jones. Liverpool fans will be surprised because we know he was talking about him last week and how difficult it was to leave Curtis Jones out, but he didn't call him into the squad. Instead, Jarrell Quansah came in. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, late call-ups. On Ruben Loftus-Cheek, what he was saying there about the cages, you know, that's obviously from a London perspective. Obviously, different cities have similar, you know, people playing small-sided games as youngsters out in their local community
Pro League
hours.
Is it
Power League.
Power League.
That kind of thing.
It's the same kind of, the same thing.
Different though, right? Especially when it comes to cage football, because it's not necessarily the environment, it's the intensity of some of those games that you would go and play after school as a youngster with the guys in your local community. That would go on for 4 or 5 hours throughout the evening until your parents were calling you, "Where are you?" Yeah,
it's all about close control. You've got to be technically good. It's intense. There's not a lot of space. You've got to think a lot quicker. So what he's saying, that's how he's learned his technique. Because if you're not technically gifted or good, you will struggle in the cage and you won't enjoy it, for sure.
Can he make his way into the England squad, do you think?
I don't see why not. I really like Loftus-Cheek. I think he's a really good player. He's physicality-wise is, you know, strong, tall, big, athletic. He's quick. He can get up and down. And not only is he good on the ball, he can drift past players. He gets into the box, late runs. So the position that he plays in, the attributes, you're looking at, you've got to go tick, 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 tick. It's just staying, you know, injury-free, consistency, playing well. I think if he continues doing well, he should get a call-up. If he gets a start at these 2 games and he plays really well, I think he's done himself a fantastic job to maybe, you know, for the main 25 squad.
The England midfield is interesting. And earlier, if you're just joining us, you said that you would like to see against Andorra, Rice, Morgan Gibbs-White and Morgan Rogers. I think there's an open space in that midfield.
There is an open space.
For a partner for Declan Rice, right?
But what's the point in playing... What's the point?
Someone like Jordan Henderson.
But I don't. What are you saying that for?
Elliot Anderson. No, I'm just going through the options.
But why would you put Jordan? That's not the future. That's not. That's not. I don't think that's going to the World Cup. In my eyes, it wouldn't be going to my team going to the World Cup.
I mean, he's spoken glowingly about Jordan Henderson and why he's brought him into the squad. What can I say? It looks like he fancies him as a player for next summer.
Well, like I said, mine would be Rice.
You're so angry about Jordan Henderson.
And
calm down.
And Rogers. You're going to a team and you know you're going to probably have 70% of the possession. Why do you need 2 DMs?
Well, I do think there's a bit of education that's needed from Thomas Tuchel over these. I know we're playing Andorra, but he's trying to find out the players that he can trust. I get it. Everyone's going to probably have a good game against
You
Andorra.
can trust Jordan Henderson. There's no point playing him.
I know, but it still has to be used as a training exercise. So if he goes out and says, I want to see what these combinations are like, right, you're not going to know what they're like against the Argentinian midfield, but you still get a better indication than not playing those combinations.
Okay, but would Jordan Henderson be a better combination or a better player to play instead of Rice, White and Rodgers? Or Elliott?
Yeah, against Andorra, I get it. I wouldn't play Jordan Henderson either.
I'd play in probably my best team, my best attacking team that I've got, and I'm throwing it out there. I don't want to see this, that. No, I need to start playing my best team.
If we were playing away against France this weekend,
yes,
what kind of midfield would you want? Would you go more defensive?
Well, you've got to look at it's going to be in probably even game on possession wise. Then it's all about tactics. But you still play a certain way. Yes,
you'd keep the same personnel for a game against France.
You'd put Rice there, and maybe a player like a Loftus-Cheek or Elliot Anderson or someone that kind of
a more defensive player than Gibbs White. Okay, listen.
But then you also say, look, boys, when we've got it, let's not just sit back and left to right. Let's be more dynamic.
Yeah, listen. You put Gibbs White. I'd love to see Elliot Anderson start this next couple of games, to be perfectly honest. I think he's played that well. He could be the solution for me alongside Declan Rice this summer. So I think the Forest midfielder is showing a level of maturity that maybe we didn't even expect from him where he went, but also the discipline in his role. He looks very, very good. It's good to see him in the England squad. I think he deserves an opportunity. Obviously, his teammate Morgan Gibbs-White does as well, but for me, he does box-to-box great. He works so hard in that midfield, so I'm not going to take it away from him, but I think Elliot Anderson maybe has a more of a defensive head on him that England might prefer. So it'll be interesting to see who he goes for in terms of that specific game. But in terms of the midfield, I do think there's an open position. I did want to put this to you, and I know some people might be disappointed with it. We're missing loads of players.
Oh, yeah. Right? We're talking about this team right now, but if a fully fit England team...
Yeah. I did want to talk to you about, imagine it's the first game for the World Cup. Imagine our best players are available. Whether Jude Bellingham should be in that first 11.
I think what is being one of the main, I'll say, performers for England. He's got them out of the hole in 2 big occasions. So, yes, because you're going to need players who can, out of nowhere, get those goals like he has. And last kick of the game, do something spectacular, do something special. When you've got starlets, superstars, you need them on your pitch. But there is a but.
I was about to jump in.
You can jump in now, but you jump in.
No, I was going to say, I think we've also seen, even though Jude Bellingham, and it's a weird thing to say, he's delivered those important moments for England, particularly in tournaments, but when we look at the balance of the midfield, I think we've had an issue trying to just shoehorn England's best players out there without thinking about the balance of the team. I think he's already shown us that he can't do that role closer to Rice. He is a number 10. Yeah. And I think when it comes to the competition for that number 10 role in behind Harry Kane, Cole Palmer is ahead of him. I think Saka will start on the right-hand side, and I think we need a wide player on the left. I'd prefer Eza. It might be Jack Grealish. It might be Anthony Gordon. There are options out on the left. At one stage, even Jude Bellingham was pushed out to the left during that tournament. It was lunacy. For me, Bellingham might serve a better role for England at a tournament as an impact player from the bench. He's going to worry a lot of teams coming on for a final 30 minutes of a match.
We've done that before with the Golden Era, tried to play Lampard, Gerrard and Scholes all in the midfield, all together. I think you go with Jude Bellingham. You go with Jude Bellingham
as a number 10.
As a number 10 because he's got the experience. He's playing there for Real Madrid. He's played in big competitions before. So you go with him. But this is what my but was. But if he's not performing, then you've got to have the kahunas to drop star players. If Jude Bellingham is not performing and playing well, drop him. Then you start, Cole, this is your chance now. He's had his turn. It didn't work out. Cole Palmer, come in. Do the business. If you don't, who's next? Then you get the guy that fits. Who's I'm going to take, Tuchel, I'm taking this challenge. I'm up for it. I want it. Then you get your best players rather than just going big name, you're going to play. You've played absolutely rubbish. It doesn't matter. I need to play you next week. Oh, you're still playing rubbish. I'm going to play you again anyway. You've got to be ruthless.
Funny enough, neither of them are available this camp, but I do feel like Cole Palmer will, because of Bellingham's injury and because of the fact that you've said it, Thomas Tuchel said it, we need to unlock ourselves in an attacking sense. I think Palmer is going to be key to unlocking England's attack. He will get that opportunity simply because of Bellingham's injury. If he does well over the next 4 or 5 games that he plays before Bellingham comes back, I think he'll be.
I'll be happy. You give each one of them a go, and whoever takes it, I'll be happy with both of them. Either one.
Okay, all right. We're going to give our 11s for the game against Andorra after this, but that was all thanks to Ladbrokes. It's 18+, begambleaware.org.
The big preview on talkSPORT with Ladbrokes. 18+, gambleaware.org.
All right, if you want to quickly join us, you got a view on how England should play. Wow, there's been a lot of messages coming in. I'll come to those next. Drop us a text, 81089. You can give us a call, 03717 223344. Our biggest competition today is now live. We're giving you the chance to win Oasis tickets plus a huge cash prize. 2 lucky winners, not 1 but 2, will win a pair of Oasis tickets when they return to Wembley on the 27th of September. That's not all. Alongside the tickets, we are giving you the chance to win a whopping £25,000. For all the details and how to enter the competition, listen up.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word Oasis to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. Or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 3338. All entries must be received by the 19th of September at 9 a.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
And a quick reminder, the WSL season gets underway Friday evening. talkSPORT 2 brings you live commentary of a great opening game, champions Chelsea against Manchester City. Tomorrow night, they'll be previewing the new WSL campaign here on Kickoff from 7 o'clock with Natalie Sawyer. She'll be joined by former Liverpool forward Courtney Sweetman-Kirk to discuss all of the key issues. They'll have an interview as well with the Spurs manager, Martin Ho. That's Kickoff tomorrow evening from 7 o'clock here on talkSPORT. And remember, England playing Andorra 5 p.m. on Saturday, also live here on talkSPORT. So Jermaine Pennant, who's alongside myself, Hugh Woozencroft, let's get your team for the game against Andorra.
I'm going to go Pickford in goal. James, right back.
Reece James is an interesting one for England, and the right back generally. So I'm just going to pause you there. Trent Alexander-Arnold's been left out completely from this squad. Now, maybe they've had a conversation, and if he hasn't settled perfectly at Madrid, maybe he's gone, you take your time. We need you to be playing it for your best for your club, so you can play for your best for your country. But if he's fit and raring to go, for me, defensive plus attack skills, it has to be Reece James. Am I being harsh on Trent?
No, not at all. I think if you look at those aspects, I think going forward, there's not much difference. Both can strike a ball. Trent's vision is probably a lot better. Defensively, though, I would say Reece James is better. But I think to not include him in the squad is a strange one. I would definitely have him in the squad because, like I said, sometimes you'll come against teams who are just very solid at the back, 2 banks of 4, and you may need someone like a Trent who can just whip a ball from, out of nowhere.
This is a slight criticism that I have for Thomas Tuchel at the moment. He's still calling up players to kind of see what they're like. We heard from Ruben Loftus-Cheek a little bit earlier on. I think he's one of those players. Jed Spence, let's call him up, have a look at him. Tino Livramento, maybe he's got a good chance of being on the plane next summer. But I don't think you need that many right backs, right? So Jed Spence gets called in. Again, he kind of deserves the opportunity, but I think we're almost beyond the period of it's almost unfortunate. Unless a player is really lighting up the Premier League, I think this guy needs to be picking his best players as much as he possibly can. And at the moment, I still think there's a lot of players coming into the squad that he just wants to have a look at. It's too late for that. We've got 10 months to try and win the World Cup.
Yeah, and the more you play the same kind of system, the same team, the more they gel, the more they understand, the more they get feel like a club. That's what I said. Just pick your best players, play your best players, and get that momentum going. So anyway, I've got Reece James right back. Yeah. I'm going to have Mark Gay, John Stones, and Skelly. I
agree. You got to play John Stones. John Stones needs games, for sure.
And you got to play a left back who's actually left-footed. Then I'm going to go Rice. I've just Gibbs, White, Rodgers. Yeah. And then I'm going to go Eze off the right. He came on against Liverpool. He's actually, off the left. Eze came off the left, and he can come inside to make a number 10, but also be out there. He's got it all. Kane up top, obviously, and then Madueke is the nearest thing to Saka.
Yeah. Do you not give Ollie Watkins just a start against Andorra? Just because?
But there you go. But what for?
Yeah, but
no disrespect to but what for? He's not scored yet.
Because but I just think there's harder games to come, and you know what you get.
But like I said, just play your best team. Get a rhythm of spanking teams. Get a rhythm of wallop. Get a rhythm of putting the ball.
That confidence. Yeah, exactly. A 5-6-7-0 against Andorra.
So play your best team.
Okay,
that's me. It's
a strong team, to be perfectly honest, and I don't disagree with it too much. I might give Elliot Anderson an opportunity in midfield alongside Morgan Rogers. I might have played, I tell you, I would be tempted to play Jared Bowen. I would be instead of Noni Madueke, but it is much of a muchness. We all know Bukayo Saka, if he's fit and firing towards the end of the season, has got that right-hand side locked down for England. But, Madueke has a similar style coming in on his left foot, and so has Bowen. But I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be that many opportunities to take a look at Bowen. And I know what you're saying. Why do we need to take a look? But I do think he's a player that could be on the plane next summer who might not get an opportunity to show what he's got too often between now and then. So I'd go for Jared Bowen. Let's get to some of your messages to round off the show, though. Loads of you wanting to get in touch about England and giving us your views on their approach. Here we go. This is one that I think I wanted to read out and get your thoughts, Jermaine. From Chris, he says, England's strength is based on blending technique with intensity and power. Summer tournaments in higher temperatures where you cannot play with pace and intensity reduces our quality. Spain will thrive in that environment. Chelsea in the Club World Cup final and throughout the tournament in the US showed us the way that we should be doing it internationally. What do you think of that? It's a good message. Thank you, Chris.
Well, obviously, the people who play in a hotter climate will benefit when it's a hot climate.
But do we, I think both of us were saying we want the best of the Premier League.
Right.
But for America, Mexico and Canada in a hot summer, should England maybe be a bit more reserved with how they approach games?
Well, I think the heat will determine that regardless if you want to or not. You're not going to be running around 100 miles an hour when it's 90 degrees out there.
Listen, it's an interesting point. If we're sensible about trying to win a World Cup next summer in that environment, should we be actually trying to get ourselves to a high possession team where we are having 70-75% of the ball?
There needs to be a balance.
As we can.
There will be moments in the game where it has to be high intensity. Not for the whole, not for the whole half or second half, but there'll be moments where it needs to be a high intensity, and then you retreat back, and then right back because of the weather, not because of a style of a play. Some days will be cooler, and you can play at a high intensity. So a little bit, what you're saying is correct, but still needs to be that philosophy of how we play when it's normal conditions.
Sam says the team should be built around Declan Rice, not Bellingham. Thoughts on Declan Rice and his importance for England?
Yeah, he's an important player, but if you take him out, if you put Adam Wharton in there, for example, would we really lose anything? Would it change massively?
It's an interesting. I think it would.
Would it change really drastically that if we had Adam Wharton and Rice?
Oh no, those two together. Yeah, sorry. You mean Wharton instead of Rice?
No, but the conversation was we should revolve the team around Declan Rice. Yeah. But I said if you take him out of the situation and put a different player there,
I think we do lose a lot.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. I do. Because of the physicality of Declan Rice and his ability to carry the ball. The ability to break up play. I'm not saying Wharton's not good at that, but I just feel like Rice is ahead of him.
Do you see Rice assisting? Do you see Rice creating goals? Do you see Rice
because he doesn't
starting the play?
He doesn't have to in this.
Well, there you go. You don't need to roll the team around then. That's his job. You need to roll with someone who's creative on the ball and make things happen. That's who you need to go through.
Final comment from Chris, another Chris who's messaged in. He spoke about Morgan Gibbs-White. So very quickly, he says, if Gibbs-White had the ambition to play for England as a starter at the World Cup, he would have moved to Spurs and proved himself for a top team, this says, debatable, playing in the Champions League. Okay, that's a fact. He said he didn't, and that demonstrated his level of ambition.
But that wasn't down that wasn't down to Morgan Gibbs-White. That was down to Levy being
He's another player he could have forced a move.
Yeah, but it was respectful. It was Levy. It was like and ahhing, not putting the right bid in, being silly. So that was not Gibbs-White's fault. That was Spurs' fault.
Okay. All right. The final word from Jermaine Pennant. It's been a pleasure to be with you this evening. Thank you to everyone that got involved in the conversation. Been a very enjoyable show. Make sure you're listening tomorrow evening for that preview of the WSL season. And stay with us for the Sports Bar. Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy coming up next. Give them a call. 03717 223344.